I want
to be
the
the
very
very
best.
best.
No one ever was. Because them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land. Searching far and wide. Teach Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all, you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend. In the world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em. Our heart's so true. Our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Welcome back to the IMNerd podcast, guys. I am Freyway, and this is my host, Kenny. And we are here for episode 5, where we will be talking all about one of our childhood favorites, Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. We're not going to make you guys go through that again. If you heard the teaser, you already heard us singing terribly, but we're not about to make you go through that again. So I guess just to start off, like, Kenny, how did you get into Pokemon? It's one of the fucking biggest franchises of all time, right? And
it is.
Everyone has heard of Pokemon at one point or another.
I'm an old head now.
Same.
How old am I?
You know, we don't have to disclose all of that information, but you're up in age is what you are. And Pokemon's been around for a significant part of your life, I would say.
Yeah, I started with Pokemon Red and Blue. When it came, the thing is, I don't remember. I know I didn't get it when it came out because the internet wasn't a thing. I remember I was at a sports camp when I was super little. I don't remember which grade. During the summers, my parents were working and they got to send you somewhere. And so this one summer, they got to
send you somewhere.
They do. I remember not related this other summer. That's a story for another day. But I remember my dad used to send me to this lady's house. And I swear to God, the lady used to do coke every day on the fucking kitchen counter. And what
is happening on a Pokemon?
But that's not the relevant part of the story.
This is the Pokemon episode.
That's not the relevant part of the story. This other summer,
how did we get here?
My dad sent me to a sports camp.
We're like 3 minutes in,
and you would just go there and boys, girls, whatever, and they would you would play sports like lacrosse and soccer and football, etc.
All that shit.
Basketball and So anyway, one day it's like during recess or lunch while we're there, and this kid had Pokemon Red or Blue. I don't know which one. And I didn't even know what it was at the time. And I was just playing on his Game Boy. He let me try it. I remember on his game, I didn't realize this till later, but on his game, I found Articuno. Like I was just running around and like I went to Seafoam Islands, which I didn't know at the time. And I just fucking went through the Seafoam Islands and then I ended up at Articuno. And then he happened to look over and saw it, and he was like, "Oh, how the fuck did you find? I've been looking for that." Like he started freaking out because he's been looking for it.
You didn't know.
He's like, "How'd you find it?" I was like, "Oh,
it's just a bird to me. Like I don't know what that is."
So that's the first time I played Pokemon. But then from there, I remember for Christmas, I got Pokemon Red, and then for my birthday, I got Pokemon Blue.
Okay, so you are
January.
Okay,
and Christmas is in December. So like December, I got Red, and then my birthday, I got Blue.
Did you choose which one you got first?
No, I just said I want a Pokemon.
Okay,
but red, but my favorite colors have always been red and green. So when they went into the store and looked, they were probably like, "Oh, well, we'll get red," because red was one of my favorite colors growing up.
All right,
red and green, Christmas colors.
I started out with Pokemon Blue, but I'm going to go a little further back than that. So my best friend when I was a kid, I went over his house for the first time ever. I don't even know what age I was. I was younger than 10, and I went over his house, and he had this like VHS tape. I know a lot of people probably don't know what the fuck that is, but he had a VHS tape of like Pokemon before it ever aired in the United States. Like it was basically like episode 1 when Ash gets attacked by a bunch of Sparrows and Pikachu does that big ass thunder. Like, he had a VHS of that tape and he played it. We didn't know like really what it was. Like he played it and we were like blown away by it, right? Like we saw that shit and immediately fell in love with Pokemon. And then like after that, the cartoon was out, and then like we had the Game Boy, the purple one that was like see-through, you know, the Game Boy color.
Yeah, the see-through. Yep. I remember
see-through purple Game Boy.
I remember having that one. What's weird is I know that wasn't my first Game Boy Color, but that's the Game Boy Color I remember because I had a fat gray Game Boy. Okay. And then I'm pretty sure I had a Game Boy Color, but I don't remember which one it was. But then I remember the purple see-through one. I think I might have like acquired it from a neighbor or something, something but along those lines. That's the one I remember having for a long time. Yeah. Real quick, going back, was that, so you watched it in Japanese with subtitles?
No,
the VHS tape?
It was actually in English.
Oh shit.
It was in English. It was a VHS tape. It was in English, and it was episode 1. And it at this time, I don't believe that Pokemon is even, because I remember at the end of the thing, it said like coming at XX date, like it was coming out, like Pokemon was coming out.
So it was like a preview, kind of like, hey, this is coming.
Yes, like Pokemon, crazy. Like that's how early I got into Pokemon. I never even
knew about that.
Yes, that's how early Pokemon was for me. So when I got the Game Boy, the see-through purple Game Boy, I got Pokemon Blue. I'm a Pokemon Blue kid. So I started off on Pokemon Blue and I chose Squirtle. I was a fan of the Squirtle Squad when I finally started watching the cartoon, and just like, I don't know, water in general. I just kind of like water.
I started with red, picked Charmander.
Yeah. So I started with Blue. And I think my best friend also had Blue, and I used to look up because he's like 3 years older than me. So I used to look up to him anyway. So like if he did something, I pretty much would copy. But I got Blue as well, and we used to play that shit on the steps. I feel like everything happened on my steps, but we used to play that outside every day for hours and hours till our Game Boys would be dying, and then we'd have to like get new. I think you had to get batteries back then, which was really awful.
AA.
Yeah, we used to kill batteries, and my parents were like, "What the hell are you doing? That requires you to get," because batteries are expensive. Like they're not cheap.
You remember back on the Game Boy, in the original Game Boy. So this is before Nintendo DS, before Nintendo Switch, before PSPs. On those Game Boys, your power, it said on the side of the screen, it said power. It was a red light.
Yep.
And the way to know if your battery was getting ready to die is like the light would get dimmer, and there was no real indication. There wasn't like a battery beeper. It wasn't like a percentage.
Yeah.
It was a red light that would start off really bright, and the light would get really dim, and that's when you're like, "Oh, my batteries might be close to death."
I used to be scared of that though, because back then auto saving wasn't a thing. So
funny story. Remember, this is our first Pokemon game, right? So we're new to the game. Internet doesn't really exist. Even if it did, Google didn't exist yet. Yahoo didn't even exist yet. So even if you could have an internet, there was no way to navigate the internet. Anyway, so I'm playing my Game Boy. I'm playing Pokemon. And then all of a sudden I start hearing like a like a beep. And I was like, what the and I thought that meant my battery was dying.
The whole time your Pokemon's dying.
It's the fact that my Pokemon was in red health dying.
You were getting trapped.
I thought I was in the middle of a battle and I heard the thing going off. And I was like, but Mom, my battery's dying. I need new batteries. And I'm like freaking out.
Because you don't want to lose all your shit.
There's no way to know. You know what I mean? Like at that time, you're figuring out all at the same time. There's like
that sound used to be loud. It used to be
was so loud.
Like I think the two loudest like indicators of something dying is Legend of Zelda and Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like if you want to know if something is dying, you hear that loud ass. I don't even want to imitate it, but it was you guys know what I'm talking about. When your Pokemon's about to die, that sound is so loud. And so obviously
they've dulled it now.
Yeah. They did actually.
In recent games, it still happens, but it's more dull.
Yeah.
And Pokemon Black and White, which is Gen 5, if I remember correctly, they instead of doing like the beep beep beep, instead of doing that, they actually changed the battle theme. Like the battle theme would like get more intense.
Oh wow.
When your health was lower, and like it kind of picked up and stuff.
That's
and then
cool.
but it happened kind of naturally. Like so, if you switched to a full health Pokemon, like it would go back, but it wasn't like a different song. Like it felt natural. Like it was pretty cool.
So out of the original 150, what's your favorite Pokemon?
The original Charizard. Actually, to be honest though, my whole life it was like pretty much always Charmeleon specifically.
Why Charmeleon?
Because he was dark red. I just always thought
he looked like a badass teenager.
When I was a kid,
looked like a bad teenager.
My favorite age, like throughout my life growing up, was 17, right? For whatever reason, like 18 and being an adult, 20, 30, that was like being an adult. And then like being a kid, you don't want to be a kid. 17 always seemed like the coolest fucking age. And Charmeleon, yeah, he's like a teenager. He's like
you said Charmeleon is 17.
Charmeleon is 17. Yo, he's cool as fuck. He had like the spike on his head. He had the horn on his head. He was dark red. And I thought the dark red just looked sicker than orange.
Yeah.
So if I'm being honest, it's Charmeleon. But I love the Charmander line overall, like Charizard, when you talk about fully evolved. But Charmeleon is honestly my favorite Pokemon of all
So for
time.
me,
he's so sick.
I'm really kind of cheesy, but I don't care. My favorite Pokemon to this day, and even out of the original 150 is Mewtwo. You know, and some people argue against Mewtwo even being considered a Pokemon because he's
Pokemon, man.
Because he's a clone of Mew, which I don't know how that would make.
I can real quick. Let me step in for you. I got your back. I'm coming to your defense. Right, I've heard people say that.
Let's hear it.
That don't mean a damn thing. I pulled up a couple things earlier from my memory because I remembered in Pokemon there is some wild Pokedex entries. Okay, wild Pokedex entries. Right. So if somebody's argument is Mewtwo is not a Pokemon because he's a clone of Mew, the first thing is Porygon. Okay. Porygon is an artificial Pokemon created as a computer program or some shit.
Yep.
So Mewtwo not being a Pokemon, that's already out of here.
Yep. Right? You already disproved
We have things like Porygon. However, my favorite Pokedex entry of all time is my homie Cadabra.
Let's hear it.
So let me find which I think it's Fire Red, Leaf Green. Okay. Yep. So for example, Leaf Green, this is the remake of Red and Blue version. In Leaf Green, his Pokedex entry, the cool thing about Pokemon is there's two versions of each generation.
Yep.
And the Pokedex entry will be slightly different for each one. So you got to look at both to get the full story, I guess.
That's a lot of work too.
His entry is it emits special alpha waves from its body that induce headaches just by being close. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's a psychic Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Here's his Fire Red Pokedex entry. Cadabra. The Pokemon that evolves from Abra, allegedly. It happened one morning. A boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed, transformed into a Cadabra.
That's kind of creepy. Because that Pokemon doesn't even look like I wouldn't want to look like that. Like those things, they look scary. Like those things look scary to me.
My favorite part is it happened one morning. Like it happened one morning.
Whoever translated that
with extrasensory powers awoke in bed. So
whoever translated that shit.
Apparently, normal people can just become Cadabras, okay?
Which I'm not a fan of.
Not only just in terms of Mewtwo not being a real Pokemon because of it being a clone of Mew, we have Porygon and we have Cadabra. There's other examples.
And like, it is literally a clone. Like Mewtwo is a clone of a Pokemon. So he is very much Pokemon. But I love Mewtwo, especially the first ever Pokemon movie, right? Like that fucking movie.
The first Pokemon movie. And then first Pokemon movie is called just Pokemon the first movie. And then there's the
Mewtwo Strikes Back or something like that.
Yeah. Mewtwo Strikes Back was actually, I think, a subtitle for the first movie, right? And then Mewtwo Returns.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe, I don't fucking remember.
Mewtwo has a couple movies.
Yeah.
But the first one, I cried. I don't know if you cried, but I actually cried
at the
in real
end?
life. Yes. Like
100%.
That movie got me emotional as hell when Ash got turned to stone by the two
I saw that movie in theaters.
Same. I cried in theater. Like I literally was sitting there sobbing. I don't know how old I was. I don't really care, but I remember seeing Ash stone and seeing Pikachu trying to Pikachu like shaking at his, like pushing his little body.
Yeah.
And Ash
I want to say I was in second grade, but it could have been first grade. I honestly don't remember.
Do you remember Pikachu slapping the other Pikachu? Like just constantly. Ash's Pikachu didn't really want to fight. And the other one was just like really
And
evil.
then Meowth with that speech, that beautiful speech. That speech needs to be talked about nowadays to help end racism.
It does.
That speech he was talking about, I don't remember the exact things, but it's Meowth talking to the other Meowth and looking at all the Pokemon fighting each other. And he's like, he talks about it like it doesn't matter what we look like we all live under the same sky.
Yeah, there was a lot of undertones to that. Yeah. I think Pokemon really has attempted to save the world multiple times now.
They've tried. Dude, the Pokemon theme songs, we just sung the first one, but I've listened to a couple of them like throughout my life. I've watched a bunch of the anime. They're inspiring fucking songs. If you just listen to them, you want to get up and do shit. Like you want to get up and do shit after listening to a Pokemon theme.
Pokemon always got me hyped. They had Poke Raps. Remember at the end of the episode? Like a little Poke Rap.
Pokemon. Let's do it.
I used to try to memorize the Poke Raps too. I was big on that back in the day. So that Mewtwo's my favorite Pokemon. And then So as a like for a non-legendary Pokemon, that's like my favorite. I don't know why I really like Dratini
Dratini's really cool.
and Dragonair. Like Dratini, like the whole Dragonite family.
Yeah.
Really,
I always like Dragonair more than Dragonite.
Yeah,
Dragonair just looks so like nice
it just looks really cool to me. Gyarados. I think I just like Dragon Pokemon and Psychic Pokemon. Really, those are like my two go-tos. There's like one Dragon Pokemon in the first gen, right? Like that is.
Yeah, I think it's just Dragonite.
Yeah, just Dragonite is the only one.
Well,
the whole family, yeah, and that's the only one in the original. And then you have
only dragon move, if I remember correctly, was Twister, and that's
in the original game.
Yeah, I think that's the only dragon move.
Nice.
And I think Dragon Rage was in Gen 2.
Yeah, Gen 2 is where I wasn't competitive in the original Pokemon Blue. I remember finding out about the missing no like glitch thing where you can multiply rare candy, surfing up and down and then like fighting missing no, that whole thing. But I kind of just in the first Pokemon, I would just literally have my team my 6 was like Mewtwo, Mew, Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, like and Dragonite. Like I think it was like that was like my 6 or whatever. Like all the legendaries you can handle, and then throw a Dragonite on there just because he's like OP in the original game. And that was like my 6, just because I always just thought these are the legendary Pokemon, so they must be like the best and everything. That was kind of like my thing.
I know my original. So I've got like I don't know. To me, it's a really like loving memory. Like I just love this memory because this goes into my original, I guess 6. I had all 3 starters, and the reason why is because I had Red and Blue, and I had 2 Game Boys, but my dad only bought 1. I don't know where the second one came from. Just leave it at that.
But you also must have had a link cable because
I had a link cable. So anyway, my grandparents are from Portugal, and every winter they would come visit. So every summer we would go to Portugal. Every winter they would come to America. And so I remember I was in the airport, and I can still remember the Philadelphia airport. Like I still remember kind of where I was sitting and what the Philadelphia airport looked like at that time. And sitting in the lobby waiting for my grandparents to come in. We're there for like an hour, 2 hours. And I was resetting Blue version over and over to get Squirtle, to get Bulbasaur, and trade them over to my Red version. And I remember I would do little things. Like I made sure when I got Squirtle, I named my character Blue. And when I got Bulbasaur, I named my character Green. And then my character's name was Red. And so I traded them over, and like I had Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. And I just remember just being in the airport, waiting for my grandparents to come, and like just sitting on like this little thing. I'm just like a little kid. I'm trading my Pokemon over, and you got to restart the game, go through the whole intro again. I don't know. I really am fond of that memory. But so right from the gate, I played with all 3 starters because I had both games, and I was like, well, I'm going to trade them over.
Me and my friend, we didn't start trading to get the original starters for a while. I don't even know in the original like Pokemon Blue and Red if we even understood like trading, because we were that young. Like I don't even know if we understood like the whole trading concept really that well, but by the time Gold and Silver came out, like it was a whole different ball game. Gold and Silver, 16 badges, right? Like that game is super long, a lot of Pokemon, and obviously a lot of new Pokemon, but there's just so many. You have the original 150 plus all the ones they introduced, and then all of those gym leaders and everything.
I think they introduced around 100 Pokemon, because I think the count of Gold and Silver is 251.
Yeah, so that's either
251 or 252.
Yeah, so many Pokemon, and like then the game also looks better than like Blue and Red. They literally were in the colors that they were, like Blue and Red, and those models did not look too good. Those sprites, the
original sprites weren't good. And also, so 2 notes. One, I want to first talk about not fully understanding trading. I understood trading, but I was still a kid. Yeah. I remember this person that lived, I won't say their names, not that it matters, but I just won't say their names. But a person that lived down the street from me, I was friends with this kid. He had an older brother, right? And so he's the one that taught me that some Pokemon only evolve by trading. Like, oh, cool, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted an Alakazam really bad. I had Cadabra. And he was like, all right, yeah, cool. Trade me your Cadabra, and then I'll trade you back the Alakazam. Anyway, he was like 4 years older than me. I was like super excited. I traded him the Cadabra. This is not going where and then he was just like, he just unplugged the link cable. He was like, all right, thanks. And like, he just kept my Alakazam. And I was like, wow. And he was like 4 years. There was nothing I could do.
Yo, you always get savage. You've been getting savage just since you were a child.
He was just like, yeah, thanks. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not. And then like I didn't snitch because
it's kind of awkward to be like he stole my Pokemon.
You can't snitch.
Like I don't even know.
So I just ate that. Like he just stole my Alakazam.
So your Alakazam is still just out there somewhere in somebody else's game.
Yeah, I was like, I guess
that's fucked up. Kids are horrible.
On the road to Gold and Silver having 16 badges and 2 regions. At the time, the creators even mentioned they thought that was the last Pokemon game. They made Gold and Silver to be like a lot of the people that worked on it thought like, yeah, this is the last Pokemon game. This is like
this is everything.
We're going to move on with our careers after this.
Yeah, okay. That didn't age well. That did not age well.
But Gold and Silver, that's why Gold and Silver is so good, and many think to this day still the best. Like I think the Gold and Silver remakes are the best Pokemon games, period. But still, like their roots are in Gold and Silver. It had 2 regions, 16 badges. It had an epic final battle with Red, the main character from the game before. If you fucking make it up to Mount Silver, you beat the Elite Four twice, you get 16 badges. You climb Mount Silver, and there he is, the main character, the person you were in the last game, with his hand in his pocket and his shirt all fucked up and his hat like kind of messed up. Just sitting there, and you fight Red. He's got Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Pikachu, like
Snorlax. Yes, his Snorlax was real. I remember the Snorlax being so real.
His Pokemon were like on level 80. Like that was the magnum opus of Pokemon, and they've made good Pokemon games since then, of course. But
nothing Gold and Silver the same feeling of Gold and Silver for me. Like
it's another level.
It's probably because that's like my coming of age. I feel like that's like me growing up and understanding like what I'm really doing in the game, right? Like Pokemon Red and Blue, like I played them, I kind of got what I was doing, but not really. Still very young. But then Gold and Silver, by the time those ones came out, like my competitive mindset was there. Like, you know, the concept of trying to really break things, like break the game and things like that. Like seeing Red, like, you know, Lance, like all of the gym leaders, Blaine, everybody, like that shit was so iconic and still is to this day. Like I think Gold and Silver is definitely, when people think about Pokemon games, like those are like the games.
Pokemon Gold and Silver of the non-remakes, I think is just insane. Like it had the most put into it at that time. I mean, since Gold and Silver, everybody has always asked, can we get 2 regions? Like, can we get 2? We don't get 2. We've never gotten 2 regions since then. We've never gotten more. Now they've introduced things like the Battle Frontier, which are really cool.
Yeah,
and they have their own type of gym leaders. But
so since Gold and Silver, has there ever been a game that has had 16 badges after that? Like, or is that just like a Gold and Silver?
Just Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Wow,
remakes.
Yeah,
From my Ruby's. No, I don't think so. They had the Battle Frontier, which introduces something like badges. They had like the battle medals or whatever.
Yeah,
but the Battle Frontier,
that's different.
It wasn't quite the same. And the Battle Frontier was dope as shit in Platinum version and an Emerald. It's an Emerald. It's in Platinum. I think it has a slightly different name in the 2 games, but an Emerald and Platinum, and they're really, really cool. But it wasn't quite the same as the experience of getting another region or getting your old region back.
Johto and Kanto, so iconic. So what out of those original 8 gym leaders, who's your favorite?
So it's let's name Brock, Misty, Surge, Erica, Blaine, Sabrina, Giovanni. Who am I missing? And Koga. Did I say Koga?
No, you did not say Koga.
Okay, so that's the original 8. Man, favorite.
So I'll go first then. I know mine because I love Blaine. Only because he's kind of a troll and he had that fucking diesel ass Magmar. Like that.
Are we talking in reference to the anime? I mean, I guess in general. But are you talking in reference to the anime or the games?
I mean, it could be either one. Like either one. For me is Blaine just because of the anime mainly. Like, you know, that's one of the most iconic things is when Charizard fights against Magmar and like gets bodied, right? Like the first time Ash goes against Blaine, it does not go his way at all. And, you know, he gets bodied. Charizard doesn't really listen to Ash, typical stuff. But then the redemption arc for that whole, like, gym battle is so fucking cool because that's when you see Seismic Toss for the first time. Like, the real Seismic Toss. And, you see, like, the world. They put the world in the middle. And he gives Magmar his comeuppance. Like, he just ruins him.
Magmar, by the way, if you watch that again, if I remember, Magmar's done before he gets thrown.
Oh yeah,
Charizard flies him up and
he has the
spinning.
eyes. He has the swirly eyes way before it even gets to that point.
Charizard doesn't even toss his ass down yet.
Yeah, Magmar's done. Like if it was a judge, if there was a judge in that battle, like a real judge, they'd have been like Magmar is unable to battle because Magmar was done. Yeah, the second he got lifted into the air.
That gym battle, that's like one of the most iconic gym battles for a really long time.
Seeing Fire Blast is also cool as shit in the show because I've seen Fire Blast in the game, but then when you see it in the actual show, like that fucking huge ass symbol coming out for fire and like just
I remember, doesn't it almost hit Pikachu and Pikachu's hanging off the edge of the thing, almost falling into the lava?
Yeah. Speaking of which, like the danger that Ash was getting into fighting on a volcano, like literally his Charizard got dragged into the lava by Magmar, and Ash is like, oh, I thought that we were fighting on a volcano, and Blaine's like, yeah, and under the volcano counts too, and like his Pokemon's just in lava, like what is going on here? Like this is first of all, Ash is a kid. He's been a kid for the last 30 years. And his Pokemon just fell into lava, and Blaine's like, yeah, well, fucking deal with it.
It's fucked up. Yeah. Blaine's sick. I think it's tough. I think because of the anime, my favorite would be Brock or Misty, just because of the anime. They like travel with them. And I remember in the games, like, because I played the games first before I watched the anime. And then I remember when the anime came out, I was like, oh man, like I wish Brock and Misty could follow me around.
That'd have been cool, actually.
But in terms of the actual gym leaders, I remember liking a lot of them. I think my favorite was probably Giovanni, just because he looks like a gangster. Like Giovanni just has like the suit. Like I've always liked the button-up suit, and he just looks like
I always saw him as like the main villain. Like in my head, he was like the main because like he had that whole relationship with Mewtwo and stuff. Like the team, obviously Team Rocket. I always saw him as like this really crazy villain that was like super difficult to deal with. What kind of Pokemon did Giovanni use?
In as a gym leader, if I remember, he mainly used ground types. He used Nidoking, Rhydon, I think Golem, maybe. I'm pretty sure he used ground types as a gym leader. Yeah, I think his main Pokemon was Nidoking.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah, my memory is very vague of that whole period, and I remember. So Sabrina is like psychic.
And when you beat him, the TM you get is Fissure. I'm pretty sure, which is the one-hit KO ground move.
That sounds familiar too. That's like coming back to me. I remember using Fissure and then finding out later in life that shit is like, for competitive purposes, that shit is banned. Real. You could not do that. You could not be going around fishing people. I used to be a horn drilling, fissuring fucking asshole to all my friends. Like I would literally go around.
What was the ice one called?
Sheer Cold?
Yeah, Sheer Cold.
Yep, Kyogre. So out of Kyogre and Groudon, Kyogre is definitely my favorite one. And I used to, again, go around sheer colding people's Pokemon. And they'd be like, what the fuck?
Sheer Cold. Yeah, for me, it's Groudon. I tended to always lean toward the more red fire.
And this makes sense. I started with blue and I kind of kept with that.
Yeah, like Gold, Silver, I picked Gold, Ruby, Sapphire, Ruby. But I always ended up with all of them. By the time Ruby, Sapphire came out, I was buying them with my own money. Like I remember getting... Actually, no, funny enough, Ruby, I didn't even know existed at first. When Ruby, because Gold and Silver, and then, I don't know, there was like some period of time, it felt like a long time, but I think in retrospect,
it felt like a really long time between, if you're talking about the period between like Gold and Silver and Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah, it felt really long. I think in hindsight, it wasn't.
But it just felt like, really long. It felt like it was 5 years to me.
Yeah, so I remember my friend Cheyenne had Ruby version. I didn't even know Ruby existed. This is a homie move right here to even trust me. He let me borrow Ruby version because I didn't know it existed. And he was like, as long as you don't delete my data. So I had the Game Boy Advance SP at the time. I remember I hit new game, right? I new gamed his cartridge, but I never saved.
Oh man.
I kept it plugged in and I played the game for like a week straight without turning it off, without saving it. And then next week I went back over his house and I gave the game back to him. And then I think when I came home from his house that weekend, I convinced my mom to buy me Ruby version. And then that's when I got Ruby and I started playing Ruby.
That is an immense level of trust because I have put hundreds of hours into Pokemon games in the past, and having my data saved over or worst case corrupted, and I'm sure we've all been there. Yeah. That shit makes you feel sick in the stomach.
Oh, it's awful. It's an awful feeling.
I've turned my Game Boy on before and my data wasn't there, and that is like the worst feeling in the world. Like knowing how much you worked for all of that stuff and then it's just gone.
Yeah, for any game. I've just not Pokemon, but I remember when I lived with my cousin Nick, who you guys will talk to soon enough. One of the best melee play. Well, we'll get to it. Yeah. I remember he fucking deleted my Paper Mario data on N64, my cousin. And I'd come home from school, I'd turn on Paper Mario. I had like every badge. Badges aren't the same thing. They're like skills in Paper Mario. Anyway, I had that game complete. I turn on Paper Mario and my file, instead of saying Mario, it says 444444444.
Oh no, like the little kid thing too. Like he just didn't even know.
He just like put how old he was as the name of the file, and I wanted to cry.
Yeah, I've been there too with the cousins overwriting some save data, and I just feel like I want to kill myself as a 9-year-old kid.
That's how I got into Ruby, and then from there, I got Sapphire, and then Fire Red and Leaf Green were the remakes of Red and Blue that came out at that time, and then from there I always got like that's when I'm walking to GameStop myself to buy the games myself.
Yeah,
at that point, and from there I always bought both versions of Pokemon because I just like having both versions. I like getting all the different shit.
I deviated. So when Silver and Gold came out, I'm just going back to this. I actually did end up going for Ho-Ho's game, like Gold, and not Silver, because I didn't like Lugia for some reason. Like I saw Pokemon 2000, and I don't know, something about Lugia just didn't really sit well with me, like the way he got kind of trashed by the legendary birds or whatever. And then looking up Ho-Ho's stats and seeing seeing that Pokemon just had like way higher stats and just like better overall to me. Sacred Fire, like I was like, yeah, I'm a Ho-Ho fan.
Was cool. Also, he was in the first episode of the anime, so there's like memories there in that. Like, yeah, there's a Lugia movie, but maybe not the first episode, but I think it was the first episode. Very early on in the anime, Ash and like Generation 2 doesn't even exist yet. And Ash looks up in the sky and he sees a Ho-Oh fly. And then he tells Professor Oak, and he's like, that Pokemon doesn't exist. You're an idiot.
Is it Rainbow in that episode, or is it Gold?
I'm pretty sure there's a rainbow that trails behind him.
Okay, because I remember seeing the bird in the sky, and it's like, I feel like it was all gold at one point.
But I think his body is gold. And
I think his body is gold when you see him. But I know what you're talking about. Like that whole Ash literally seen that Pokemon super early, and then we don't even know what the hell it is for years after that.
Yes.
And so now I want to ask you, did you ever play Pokemon Stadium?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I played that game so fucking much. And you would plug your Pokemon game into the pack, and you would play Pokemon Stadium on the big TV, and you could transfer your Pokemon over. That shit was amazing. That Pokemon Stadium was so fucking fun. Like, I played that game so much. The mini games with my friends and just going through. I played that game so fucking much.
Same. I was big on the mini games. You remember the Lickitung mini game where you had to like eat sushi and shit?
Yeah.
I used to play that shit. So I would literally just load up Pokemon Stadium to play the mini games.
Also, this is going to be hard for me to describe. I hope to God somebody can know what I'm talking about. There's a crowd cheer that's used in Pokemon Stadium that I swear to God, it's a free use like cheer that has been used in so like basically. I'm not going to be able to accurately imitate it, but if you play Pokemon Stadium, just play the game. At some point, you'll hear a cheer where it's like kick his ass, ho ho. But he doesn't actually say kick his ass. That's just kind of what it sounds like. But he's like ho ho, like, and you just hear it, right? You hear it in the background of that game. Since playing Pokemon Stadium, I've heard that like exact soundbite in so many instances of movies or shows where there's a crowd cheering. I'm like, that's the Pokemon Stadium cheer.
So me, the one that I remember the most from Pokemon Stadium, as far as when I used to do like Psychic with Mewtwo, right? And just one-hit KO things. The announcer would be like, taken on a word, go. Like he would.
Yeah.
You remember that one? He would be like, taken on a word. I used to love when I heard that shit, it made me hype.
The
Pokemon
announcer
Stadium,
was too good.
That game was super iconic to me because like seeing them super 3D models.
I might have to replay that. I might have to stream it or something.
Seeing how tall Mewtwo actually is, like, Mewtwo's like fucking 8 feet tall or some shit. Like he's absolutely ridiculously tall. Seeing Mewtwo,
and then you remember Pokemon Stadium 2, how the N64 cartridge was gold and silver?
Yes, like
the cartridge itself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then Pokemon Snap. I played that.
Snap, yep.
The original one. I didn't expect to like that. My mom got that game from me. I didn't really ask for it. But she got it because she knew I liked Pokemon. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking play this. And then I loaded it up one day out of boredom and I got addicted to Pokemon Snap like immediately. Like if you would come into my room, I'll be fucking trying to catch a picture of a Charizard coming out of a volcano.
Yep.
I was like, God damn it, I got to get this picture of Charizard.
You used to have to like bully the Charmeleon. You used to have to like throw a rock at him and make him fall into the volcano.
Yep, there was a lot. It was like
for him to evolve.
Yeah, it was a lot that went into it. Same thing with like Jinx and stuff, and like seeing Articuno. You had to have the stars lined up in the cave, and like you see like the Articuno shape in the stars.
Pokemon Snap, I don't think I ever owned. That's another game where I played it for the first time at my friend. I played it at my friend's house, and I then rented it from Blockbuster. But this is a game we returned. But I rented it. I remember renting Pokemon Snap from Blockbuster, and I think we rented it like 3 or 4 times, and I beat the whole game, and then we just returned it.
That game was really fun. I don't even know what made it so fun, because then they released a newer version of Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, there's a new Pokemon Snap that just came out. I haven't played it.
I haven't either, but I have like this nostalgia from playing the old one and being so addicted to it that makes me kind of just want to try it. I'm assuming it's on the Switch, right? Like it's
on the Switch. Ant streamed it. I just realized nobody knows who the hell Ant is when I say that, but on my stream, it's called Critical Hit Plus. I streamed with our friend Anthony. He streamed Pokemon Snap, and they were having a lot of fun. Like it looked like they were having a fucking good ass time.
I might have to try that, because it just seems like one of those games that you can take your mind off of everything and just therapeutically
and just chill
and just take pictures of Pokemon, and like that's really all you're doing. Like it's really just that. I mean, I'm sure it can get frustrating because I used to restart levels so many times. Like I said, trying to get a good picture of Charizard, trying to get him to evolve, trying to get Jinx to do certain things. Like, you know what it was like. You had to do so many little, like, Snorlax to wake up and chase you. And
there was a lot. And then at the end of Pokemon Snap, when you go to fucking space, and you're chasing the Mew, and the Mew has the bubble, and you have to, at some point, like break the bubble in order to take a valid picture of Mew.
Yeah, because it doesn't count.
Speaking of Mew, do you know how many Pokemon rumors and myths there were? Like, because just Mew being stuck under the truck. Do you remember in Red, Blue, and I think Yellow, when you go to the SSN, the boat, you go to the SSN, there's a truck to the side. I don't even think you see the truck, but after you beat the SSN, you can never go into that section again. But if you went there and instead of going right on the boat, you walk to the side, there was a truck there. And essentially the rumor was that Mew was under that truck. But if you cleared the SSN, you could never go to that truck again. So when you were on the SSN, you had to feint to leave it. That way the boat doesn't leave, and then play through the whole game, do all this bullshit. That way you can get the HM strength, because you don't have HM strength at the time, because you need strength, but you need the boat to still be there so you can go in and then do a bunch of other bullshit. You have to have all 150 Pokemon.
This is far
and
too
then
much.
You go to the truck, and because you have all 150 Pokemon, you use strength on the truck to move the truck, and then Mew's under the truck.
Is that real? That's not real, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not real. But every kid on the fucking planet knew that story. Like
I didn't.
Well,
I fucking didn't. That sounds ridiculous. That sounds everybody.
Maybe I knew it, and I
just rejected.
Mew was under the truck. Mew's on the truck. This is how you get Mew. You got to blah 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 blah. And everybody knew that Mew was like. But Mew was not under the fucking truck. Mew wasn't there.
You had to do this ridiculous thing that is extremely like time consuming. And then obviously you get to that point, you can't even verify it as real because
Mew's just not on the truck.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rumors. I remember a big one being called Bill's Backyard. And the idea was that like, because you could kind of see Bill's backyard, but there's nobody to get there. And there was a big thing that you could eventually get into Bill's backyard. And then when Gold and Silver
about
came
this doesn't
out,
sit right with me, the name Bill's Backyard.
Well, when Gold and Silver came out, that's when the rumors really started. I remember people saying like, "Oh yeah, in Bill's backyard in Red and Blue, you can find Ladian, you can find like Ladybot, you can find all these Pokemon that are in Gold and Silver." Like 4 or 5 of them. They're like, "Oh no, they're in Bill's backyard in Red and Blue," and like they're not. Like you can't go there. But people would say that shit. Yeah, Pika-Blue, like you said, that was a playground legend. Yeah, Pika-Blue was like some weird evolution of Pikachu.
And then wasn't it just Meryl?
It was just Meryl.
Yeah, like literally just Meryl. And I remember when the movie came out and Meryl was in it, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's Pika-Blue." It's like, no, that's just a different Pokemon. Do you have
there's a lot of funny rumors?
Do you have experience with like the card game? Like, I mean, I'm sure everyone collected Pokemon cards at some point, but
I do a little bit, not as much as Yu-Gi-Oh, not nearly as much as Yu-Gi-Oh.
I
do have experience with the card game. Like I played it at AU a couple times.
I got into Pokemon really early, the trading card game, but we didn't play it. So we played Yu-Gi-Oh, like we would duel each other, But we collected Pokemon cards just to collect them. We didn't do anything with them besides collect them and show them off in class and stuff and get them taken by fucking teachers who I think were selling them or something. But
Probably.
we would literally just like I packed the Zapdos at 7-Eleven and it was holographic and it looked cool as shit. That Zapdos probably worth a couple thousand now. But I packed the Zapdos like when I was, I don't know, a young teenager, and I remember just showing it off to people. Like that was just like all oh, I got this fucking cool as Zapdos. No one else has this. And that was kind of like my thing.
Sick. Yeah, I remember I collected and I played the card game at the time. We, like early Yu-Gi-Oh, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. But
yeah, I had no
eventually
idea.
I learned how to play, and I remember my best deck I ever made when I played competitively, which, like I said, wasn't a long time. It was a Blaziken. I think the name of his ability was Firestarter. His like Poke Power or Poke ability, whatever the fuck it was called. It's called Firestarter, and if I remember, it was like at the start of your turn or like at any point during your turn, I think you could take a fire energy from your graveyard and equip it to a benched Pokemon. And the thing about Poke Powers was if you had a Pokemon on the bench, they could still activate their Poke Power, even if they weren't the active Pokemon.
Oh, that's cool.
So I would have like 2 or 3 Blazikens. Like I would have like an active Blaziken and I would have like a Blaziken on my bench, and they would both be doing Firestarter to put 2 fire energies on a Pokemon per turn, and then you can equip 1 energy per turn. So I'd be doing like 3 fire energies per turn, and then Blaziken or one of my other fire Pokemon had an ability that required you to discard fire energy. So it's like I would always be discarding fire energy and then replenishing them with with Blaziken.
I don't know how competitive. Like, so I was never competitive with Pokemon. What you're describing sounds like it actually was good. I have no idea.
Yeah. At the time, it was.
And then, it sounds like some competitive shit because anytime you're kind of ramping up and then you're recurring your energy, like that just, to me, just out of context, that just sounds like something that was good, but I have no idea.
Yeah, this was really good at the time. And then eventually, I remember eventually it gets cycled out because the way Pokemon does, if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! And you haven't really played other card games, the way a lot of other card games do it, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, they don't necessarily have a ban list. There are some cards that will get banned for some reason, but for the most part, they don't have a ban list. They just have like they cycle cards out. Like if this card
get rid of a set
came out before this year, then it's out. And so sets you get, it's like the last 6 sets are the cards you're allowed to use.
Yeah, and they both have their issues. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, the card pool. I think the biggest problem with that is that it's too big. So a ban list doesn't really do too much to curb the problems that you're going to have. The card pool is just insanely big, and then when you cycle things out, like you have different problems where, well, like in this particular block of cards that we have, this one particular card is so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this, like certain things can go unchecked that way. Cause it's like, how do you deal with this card in this block? This is the best card in this set or in this block. And there's really not many outs to it. So it just becomes what everyone is playing.
Another thing about the Pokemon, although it's true in both methods, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Method could be better in terms of ban list. Hold on, let me just start over. So basically with the Pokemon and Magic method, it makes it so that we were talking before how in Yu-Gi-Oh! You always have to buy the new pack, buy the new sets because the ban list will ruin the old cards and new cards will just be better anyway, right?
Yeah.
And Pokemon and Magic, it's more direct. You literally just can't use the old cards because that set gets cycled out.
Yeah, like you don't have to think about it.
So Pokemon, it's more direct. But that said, I think I respect the Pokemon method more because even though they're forcing you to buy the new cards, that's just like the way it is. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes it feels like spite. They're like, well, we're just going to nerf this deck. Because even though they don't cycle the set out, they just nerf it to shit. And then they're like, well, now you got to use this. I don't know.
Yeah, everyone who plays Pokemon, everyone who plays Pokemon, you know that soon this set is getting cycled out. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like it's not really like a surprise when it happens. It's like, well, this is happening soon. Whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh, the whole thing about Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is part of the reason why the game was so great, is the craze that comes with a ban list, right? Like, like people speculating. You get to speculate on what, because the card pool is again so huge. You get to speculate on what even is going to get banned.
What are they going to bring back?
Exactly. You have no idea. But yeah, not to get too much into like the ban list and the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, but yeah, I didn't really play the actual Pokemon trading card game, but I did enjoy collecting the cards. And then at some point, I just completely stopped for like no real reason. I think I just maybe took Yu-Gi-Oh more seriously or something, and I just was like, you know what? None of my friends really played the Pokemon trading card game, like actually sat down at a table and played each other. So I just kind of was like, yeah, that's not competitive enough for me. And I just completely stopped. And now I know that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players have actually invaded the Pokemon community, and they started playing the Pokemon trading card game. And I looked into it. I was like, well, why are people switching? Like, what is making people want to play Pokemon? And I learned that you play in tournaments where it's one game. Like, you don't play multiple games. Like on Yu-Gi-Oh, you play best 2 out of 3. Magic, same thing, best 2 out of 3. And in certain formats, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like ARGs and stuff like that, you play like best 3 out of 5 in the finals and stuff. But in Pokemon, it's one and done. So there's not like, you're not side decking. You're not like trying to redeem. Like if you drew bad, there's no like redemption for yourself. It's just like straight up, you play one game, this fucking 12-year-old beat the shit out of you. And then you just have to be like, yep, I took my L and it's on to the next round. And I cannot cope with that idea like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a card game, so it has variance. And I just imagine like losing, like traveling somewhere really far and then getting bad beat and being like, damn, I only got to play that kid one time.
I remember maybe that's how it always, I don't remember it being that way when I played. I played mainly at AU, Alternate Universe, same place I played Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And they had a Pokemon League there. And I remember playing the Pokemon card game there. They actually still run it there. Okay. I think every Tuesday or something. I don't remember the exact day. Maybe it's every Wednesday. But anyway, I would play it there, and I've seemed to remember it being 2 out of 3, but
it probably was back then. And I just talked to some of the Yu-Gi-Oh players, like not recently, but back in, it wasn't that long ago, like let's say 2017 or something, when a lot of people started switching over to just play Pokemon because they were like, oh, the prizes are insane. Like, you know, it used to just be like scholarships and stuff, but I think it became like the prizes started to become worthwhile. Or to Yu-Gi-Oh players who are not used to good prizes anyway, I think anything is kind of better than what
Yu-Gi-Oh, you get 7 packs and a
box and a used Switch and a PlayStation without the power adapter.
I remember shortly after I met you, the Red Caps had that PS3 tournament, right?
Yes, which I won.
Yeah. I think that's the tournament. I met Cairo where he fucking stacked my deck.
Oh no, not Cairo, not innocent Cairo.
Stacked my deck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, the prizes for Yu-Gi-Oh aren't that good. So
I'm just kidding. Cairo didn't stack my deck. It's an ongoing joke. I just wanted it's an ongoing joke we have. He didn't really stack my deck.
But yeah, I remember just people switching over to the Pokemon trading card game, and now, so we talked about inflation a bit in the last episode, but we can go into that again because Pokemon inflation is insane, right? Like the Charizards that are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, or
that's why I remember it was Charizard sells for $100 was the big thing when I was young. It was like, if you have Charizard, it sells for $100.
That's exactly how when I grew up, that was like the big thing. Like, oh, that Charizard is worth $120. Like you have to pay $120 for that Charizard.
Yep.
And now apparently PSA 10 graded original Charizard holographic, you know, Logan Paul's wearing it around his neck to fight Floyd Mayweather, and it's worth however many hundreds of thousands of dollars. I
always said if I could go back in time, I would, like, people, do all this shit. I would just get like 10 copies of Superman, the very first issue Superman, like Action Comics #1, and like 10 Charizards. That's what I would do.
Yeah, Charizards are they're up there. And it's not just Charizards either. Like, certain Gyarados, like Sean McKay was telling me that he bought a ton of Gyarados, like old ones. And I was like, did you pay? He's like, yeah, they're actually pretty expensive. Like the older cards are just so much money now. So inflation has hit, like we said, like every trading card game. So I wish I had my old Pokemon cards, but of course,
those are gone.
I did not take care. I didn't even have them sleeved. I don't think I did not take care of my, like when I was a child, I did not take care of my Pokemon cards. They were just in a stack on my dresser or something, or like a binder.
I actually did. I had sleeves and those plastic card covers super early because my uncle collected like baseball cards and
like the hard cover, the hard ones, like top loaders.
Yep. So I remember, speaking of the card market going up, there's no way he still has this just because of how many years have passed. I don't know where it would be now, but my uncle had a Shaq rookie card. God damn if we could find that now.
Jeez, a Shaq rookie? Yeah, I feel like that's like life-changing money and value with that one.
Anyway, before I get too depressed.
Yeah, I know, right? Because I think about stuff like that. Like, I'm sure that there is something or some things that I had long ago that would now be worth several thousands of dollars just because of how inflation has affected the trading card market. It's not even crazy to say. Like, old cards are just worth infinite now, period. Like the end. They're just worth infinite. And
they really are.
there's really no like real reason why they suddenly jumped. I think the pandemic just accelerated people's boredom and they were like, you know what? I'm just going to charge in for this. Like, I'm just going to charge the sky. And if someone is willing to pay it, it is what it is. And people just started paying it. So that's where we are now.
What it fucking is. It's fucked up.
What do you think about Pokemon Go? Like that craze that started the 2015, 2016 era of people in real life, adults, children, everyone literally glued to their phone for hours on end.
Unfortunately, I didn't really get into it. I do wish I did, but at the end of the day, I'm not too mad that I didn't get into it because I don't think the game was good, which is why I didn't really get into it. But like I really did try. Like I downloaded it and it was very glitchy when it first came out, and it didn't really work all that well when it first came out. And so I tried to get it to work, and I just couldn't get it to work right. Like it was always really. I remember I was on some vacation. I don't remember. I remember I was in a hotel when it came out. And I was watching my brother. My brother was in the pool. I was sitting by the pool and I was trying to get it to work and I just couldn't get it to work. And I tried for like a week. Like I stopped 3 days later. I tried again. Anyway, I just couldn't get it to work. And I was like, whatever, fuck it. And then on top of that, I didn't think the game was that good anyway. When I did see it played, it was whatever. But I think it's really cool what it did for just the fucking world.
Yes.
Like everybody was just like so communal and friendly. Like, I know you played it a lot.
Yes.
You played it.
So let me get into my story about Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So
I didn't play it that much.
I rejected Pokemon Go when it first came out. I remember I was at Nationals. I feel like I was at Nationals for Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals in maybe 2015. And it was in Pittsburgh. Something in Pittsburgh. Like a vague memory of that. And everyone was playing it. I remember Jeff Jones talking about it. I remember a lot of other players talking about Pokemon Go. And I just was like, I'm absolutely just not here for that at all. Like I didn't know what it was really, but I just was like, I'm not a Pokemon player anymore. I'm kind of done with that. And then I got home from that trip and I started like seeing YouTube videos and then certain people walking down the street just like staring at their phone. Like, what the fuck is everybody in the trance about this game for? So I downloaded it naturally. I downloaded it naturally and I started playing it. And then next thing I knew, I was literally hooked to Pokemon Go for like several months. And this is when the tracker was broke. So like, you know, when I first started playing it, the tracker kind of worked. Like you can see like, oh, there's a Venusaur there. And, you know, the closer you get to it, like the bigger or whatever it would get. But then at some point, the tracker just broke. Like it just did not work. And the company wasn't very good at the way they dealt with like PR. Like they didn't say if they were going to fix it really. They just kind of like dirtled around. The game had made $25 billion in like a year or something crazy like that. So like they were super rich at this point. And I just felt like we have been discarded. Like all the customers have been discarded. And I still played it for so long every day. So here's how bad it was. I would be at work. Remember, I'm an accountant. So I would be at work and I would have my phone on do not turn off screen. So like my screen would never turn off. And I would just be sitting there. Like I would be working, but I would also just have my phone like kind of on the side so that I could always like watch if a Pokemon just popped up in my area. Cause like where my job, I think was actually a gym back then. And so like randomly like Pokemon would just like, you know, they'd be wandering around and I would get so excited. And sometimes I would even be like, hey, I'm going to the bathroom real quick. And I would legit walk out of my job to like walk around the building to like get a Pokemon. That's how crazy it was. It got me walking outside. Like I used to walk to hatch eggs. Like I used to walk with my friend Medina all the time. We walked far. We walked the entire Center City, Philadelphia. And we would meet people. We would meet random strangers on the street and we would become like groups for the day. Like we wouldn't even become like long-term friends or anything. We would just be like, today I just happened to stumble upon this group and me and him would just follow them around and we would all be like looking for like, oh shit, there's a Charizard there. And we would sometimes run for Pokemon. Like you'd see something and you'd be like, everyone's running towards it. You'd see people down the street running. And you're like, oh shit, like something must be over there. It was crazy. Yeah, like at the time, I'm a full-on adult at this point. Like I am fully an adult. So sick. And I was so hypnotized and just like I couldn't get out of it. I was in a trance. I used to be at work and think about getting off of work just to play Pokemon. I didn't care about anything else. I wanted to get home, change my clothes, and immediately go back out to play Pokemon for like up until like midnight. Like I get home and I wouldn't even think about anything else. I barely would eat. Like I would just be like, I want to play Pokemon Go. That was all I did. I used to so next to my house is a gym as well. And I used to defend the gym. Like I was Team Mystic, so I was blue.
Yeah.
And I used to defend the gyms that were like in my area and put my Pokemon up. And every time somebody would take them, I would like wake up at like 3 a.m. and check. And if they were taken, I would retake them. I was crazy. I was a psychopath. Like I full on just an addict. Like I have a very addictive personality, which is why I don't do certain things, because I just don't trust myself enough, because I'm very competitive. And two,
did you end up spending any money on the game?
So you said, did I end up spending any money on the game?
Yeah. Did you end up spending any money on the game? Because like a lot of those phone games, some people end up fucking going bankrupt playing.
Let's talk about that, because that's how I knew I was getting a little too far into Pokemon Go. I started to swipe my credit card for Pokemon Go.
Ooh,
and
it got bad.
It got bad. I needed incubators, and I needed more Pokeballs. And I started to buy incubators, because that was like I don't know how the game is now, but like the meta thing to do at the time was like, you need incubators to hatch eggs. And eggs could be pretty much anything. So I used to spend money on a daily basis on Pokemon Go. I was cashing out like a madman. I couldn't help myself. Like I was cashing out. And so I spent a couple $100s in a really short amount of time, right? And they wouldn't fix the fucking tracker. So I remember my friends started to quit out of frustration. Like Medina quit, like other people started to quit out of frustration. And I was the last one holding on, because I just was like I loved it so much. And it got to a point where I said, you know what?
I didn't even know this tracker issue, because I didn't play, so I didn't even know about this whole tracker.
Oh yeah, like the tracker was a big deal, because like you could find Pokemon, and then you just like it got to a point where you just couldn't. Like anything you found was random for a while, like months, like literally months. You would be going around, walking around the city, and you wouldn't know what you're going to run into. Which that's kind of cool. But I guess because the game was presented originally with a tracker, everyone was so like focused on having one, and so the company got a lot of shit for that. But anyway, I spent a lot of money on the game. And everyone started quitting. Eventually, when I started learning that people were like location spoofing themselves to get stuff, I was like, all right, at this point, like I'm not about to get involved in the whole location spoofing thing. Like if people are just going to have, so certain Pokemon were locked to like the UK or like Europe.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, and like China, stuff like that. Like I think like certain countries had certain Pokemon you can only get, and I would start to see them in my area a little too much, and I was like, "There's no way, right? Like, there's just no way." So that started to make me like a little sad. Just I didn't want to play it as much, and then I just finally stopped. I stumbled upon a Reddit thread that was like, you can actually get back all of your money if you go on the Apple Store, go to the Pokemon Go app, and basically write this exact thing. So the guy like put exactly what you need to write. And I did exactly that. It said, essentially, I got into this game under the assumption or like the presumption that, the tracker would be fixed at a certain amount of time. The company said they would fix it or whatever. And it never has been done. It's been months on months on months. It still hasn't been fixed. This game is basically not what I originally purchased. And so Apple refunded every single penny that I spent on Pokemon Go, like everything. Like I mean, my entire whatever I spent got completely refunded. I'm talking about everything, and it was almost immediate. Like it was the same day they refunded everything, right? So I was like, wow. So then I went into my Pokemon Go file. Like I opened my file up to see like what the file looked like now, because I bought all these incubators and Pokeballs and shit, right? So I went into the file, and I still had all the gold and incubators and everything, and I was like, wow, that's like kind of crazy. Like I was able to buy stuff and then get my money back for, and I still have the stuff. So then at that point, right, I was like, okay, I'm not going to scumbag. I said, I'm still completely quitting this game. And I just never played it again. Like literally, I have not played Pokemon Go since like 2016. Literally never went back to it. I still have Pokemon Go downloaded on my phone, and my character's probably still on whatever I wasn't max level, but whatever the max level was at the time, I'm really close to it, I would say. And I still have all the stuff.
Like if it was 50, you're 47.
Yeah. I was probably like 47 or something like that. But whatever the max level, I think it might have been 40. But whatever the max level was, I was like kind of close to it, but I just completely stopped playing and haven't opened it up. I don't even know what happens if I open it up now. Like I don't even know what it looks like. I haven't even touched it, but it's still just like on my phone. Because every time I get a new iPhone, it just auto downloads like all the apps that I've always had. And
I would love for Pokemon Go, but it to be more similar to a normal Pokemon game. Like I get that this would be kind of ridiculous, but imagine if it looks like Gold and Silver, right? It looks like a Game Boy game, but they map out all of America, right? So they just map out America, and but they put Game Boy graphics on it. And as you walk around, you have like a little sprite that's walking around like Game Boy America.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like And then if like the Pokemon and everything was more like normal Pokemon stats and normal Pokemon.
Because that's your gripe with it, right? You said it wasn't a good game, and I get why, because real Pokemon, like the original Pokemon. Pokemon Go was basically like you throw balls at the Pokemon, you catch them. Battling wasn't a thing at the time.
Like battling, like if I remember correctly, now I didn't play, but from a lot of what I heard and talked to people and watched, battling, a lot of it came down to like you had like 3 stats and like your HP, like HP was the most important stat. Vaporeon, I think, was like the meta Pokemon at some point because Vaporeon just had huge HP.
Yeah, Pokemon with big HP were like, yeah,
like, and the way battling worked, like
you just mashed the screen. You just kept clicking the screen, and your Pokemon would keep throwing out attacks as fast as like they could, and it was like it was mashing. It was not real Pokemon at all. There wasn't like a dodge, like a real dodge mechanic, or there wasn't really like strategy.
And like I couldn't battle you. Like if you owned a gym, when I went there to take the gym, I didn't fight you. I fought the Pokemon you left there.
Yes.
And so like,
yeah, it was,
it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, it wasn't real. Like it definitely wasn't real Pokemon. But
the community it did, I thought was amazing. What it did for people, I am jealous.
Pokemon saved the way. It ended a lot of shit. Like at the time, like people who you wouldn't expect to, I guess, be socializing with each other were like socializing with each other, which I think is amazing. Like humans That's were really just cool. Humans just forgot all the nonsense, color and social class and all types of shit. And they were just like, I would go down Center City, Philadelphia, and there would be doctors, like actual fucking doctors in their scrubs and their white coats. And they would be in the park catching Pokemon next to like somebody who has on a McDonald's uniform. And that is just such a cool thing to me, because in what scenario would that be happening? Like what other scenario where would you see people coming together like that and just like to have fun?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a zero-sum game. It wasn't like, oh, you caught the Charizard, so I can't get the Charizard, you asshole. Like,
fuck. Oh, I don't remember what I was saying.
So, all right, so I'll pick up where you left off. So you were talking about how people were coming together, like I was saying, like doctors and McDonald's people, just the community that it brought to the world. Like everyone just, once again, forgetting all their problems and stuff, and not thinking about all the politics of the world. That, I don't know. It just
that's what made that game beautiful. That game, that's part of what made it really, really cool. Because
it wasn't real Pokemon, like in the sense of what we grew up on or anything like that. It was something completely different, but it just was like it. They were using Pokemon intellectual property. Right?
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. That's part of the problem with the tracker not working. Because I remember back when it first came out, one of the big things was like somebody would say, "Hey, there's a Charizard over here."
Right.
So if you're saying the tracker doesn't work and it just becomes random, it doesn't matter that he found a Charizard over there, because if you go over there, it won't be a Charizard, it'll be a Geodude.
Or you would just be walking around knowing that there's a Charizard somewhere around, but like, there's a timer on these things. Like the Charizard's not going to be around forever. He's literally going to disappear at some point. So it would be really frustrating to be like, holy shit, there's a Charizard around and I'm trying to find it. So you're walking, and it's, for me, I remember the summertime, like it was hot. I would do this shit. It would be 90 degrees and we'd be walking around Center City and trying to find something, and then you never find it. And it's just really
frustrating.
It's really not fun.
That was the commercial. The commercial was like Mewtwo was in Times Square, and everybody fucking runs out to Times Square to catch the Mewtwo. And then if that doesn't really work correctly, it's like, I
remember some of those viral like scenes where you would see like people in actual what is it called in New York, the big park,
Central Park.
There would be people in Central Park literally running like I want to say thousands of people, at least hundreds, running for like a Blastoise or a Venusaur or something, just literally losing their goddamn minds over Pokemon. And those clips, there were clips like that all over the world, though. It wasn't even just New York. That would be happening across the world.
People fucking died playing that game.
Really?
People just, there was stories of people. I didn't fact check many of them, but I heard enough of them where I think some of them are true.
Yeah.
Where people just kind of walking in the cars and shit.
Yeah. Oh,
I know.
I think I heard something along those lines. Like people literally, putting themselves in danger for Pokemon not paying attention because no one was looking up. Everyone was looking down. We were all in like a zombie. We were like zombies.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at your screen, like your head's down, you're walking and you're looking at your screen, and we're all like zombies. So people walking across the street or running across the street, right? Like people were running red lights. Like humans were just running across the street.
Fucked, yep.
Yeah. So I remember
hearing
see that happening.
I remember hearing like a group of guys put like a lure, like a Poke lure, whatever the hell it was, and a spot to basically lure people in and rob them.
Oh no.
And I mean, that's fucking awful, but the
That is
idea of it
terrible.
is so funny to me. It's like, I don't know, it's awful.
At one point, so outside of people getting themselves hurt by like walking into actual traffic, you also have people playing on their phones while they were driving, and
Yeah, that's horrible.
the app developers stopped that from being a thing. So if you were going too fast, and this is kind of annoying for like running sometimes would actually trigger it, but if you're going too fast, it literally wouldn't allow you to catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
If you were moving too fast, the game will literally say, you are moving too fast. Please slow down and catch Pokemon. And then when you would try to catch a Pokemon, nothing would happen. So it trained everybody to understand, do not try to catch Pokemon when you're driving because the game's not going to allow you. So don't even attempt it. Don't try to like, oh, I'm gonna drive a little slowly, because that shit is annoying. Like obstructing traffic just to like try to catch something.
That's fair though. I'm happy that they would add that, because that's people's lives.
It is. It was really bad. Like it was drunk driving levels of bad, because Pokemon is just so fucking big. It is the biggest franchise in the world. And so having several hundred drivers on the road looking at their phone because they're looking for Pokemon is just not it. Like that shit is not it.
No, not at all.
But I think we all agree that it did do some good for the world. And for that, I'm not mad at it.
I think it did. Conversely, I think the new Pokemon game, if from the Pokemon Unite, Pokemon League of Legends, I know people that like League of Legends. Nobody that likes League of Legends likes League of Legends, apparently. Everybody hates that game, even the people that love it. So I don't know if Pokemon Unite's going to bring the world together.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to unite us. But, we'll see.
Do you want to read some listener letters?
Sure. We didn't even touch on anything competitive.
Oh, you know what? Let's do that. All right. So let us touch on competitive Pokemon. So like the Smogon community, like that whole thing. Like I know you were big into competitive Pokemon on the 3DS and everything.
Yeah. I was most into it on the DS era.
Okay.
Era was that's when I played it the most.
So what gen are we talking?
Gen 4, which is Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
So that's the Rise of Dragons.
That is, was that the Rise of Dragons? Well, I mean, Salamance got introduced. I think what people call the Rise of Dragons, if I remember, was maybe Gen 3.
Okay.
That gave us Salamance,
Garchomp,
Rayquaza. Garchomp was Gen 4.
Okay.
But Salamance, Rayquaza, Flygon. Not that Flygon was like super broken, but Salamance was like the first dragon that was really unfair.
What made it unfair?
He actually had good speed. He had really strong attacking stats, and his ability in Gen 3, they introduced abilities.
Yeah.
So like Intimidate,
Thick Fat,
Flash Fire, Thick Fat. Dragonite, being the original dragon, wasn't all that impressive until Gen 5. But in Gen 3, Salamence had Intimidate, which mean when he came in, he lowered the Pokemon's attack that he came in on, which just made him really bulky. And then he would switch in, you would switch him in, and then...
Will he do this every time you switched him in? Like if you switched
anytime you switched them in, he'd lower the enemy's attack by one stage.
Wow.
And...
Damn, and it's a whole stage too.
He would do that, and then basically... That would essentially make them bulkier because they have less attack. You switch them in on stuff that... Like when you're playing competitive, you know what you're switching in on. So anyway, you switch Salamence in. If they attack you, like you're not really threatened by anything they would hit you with. And if they switch, cool, it's a free switch. So they'll switch Pokemon, so that new Pokemon won't have their attack lowered, but they give you a free turn. So typically, they would switch. Your Salamence would Dragon Dance. You'd get a free Dragon Dance, and then from there, like, good luck stopping them. Or if you knew enough about the opponent's team, you would predict their switch in. You'd hit the switch in Pokemon with a really strong move and either kill it outright or like damn near cripple it so that you kill it next turn.
Yeah.
Salamence was very, very pressing. But Gen 4 is the gen I played the most. That's the generation I really got into. I played in a bunch of tournaments on a bunch of different websites. Played on Smogon. At first, in Gen 3, when I first started getting the Pokemon, me and my friends played with like simple, all legends are banned. Was how we played until we found out about Smogon.
OU and UU, overused and underused, Ubers.
We found out about Smogon and we looked at it and we were like, hey, this kind of makes sense. Because the argument that essentially is made is that some Pokemon that aren't, like some legends just suck and some Pokemon that aren't legends
are
unfair.
OP as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, Like when you look at Tyranitar, Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, the 3 legendary birds are fucking dog shit. I mean, Zapdos is really good actually, but outside of Zapdos, like Articuno and Moltres are not comparable to Tyranitar, like not even fucking close. And so we would play Tyranitar legal, but Zapdos and Articuno banned. Like that doesn't really make any sense because they're not even good. So anyway, time went on. We found Smogon. We got really into the Smogon rule set, and then Gen 4 is when I started playing on my DS Wi-Fi on multiple different websites. I played on this thing called Shoddy Battle, which was like Smogon's sort of service to play online over the internet with your computer. There was also a thing called Pokemon Online, which is like a application. And then in Gen 5, we had Pokemon Showdown, which was a website, a browser website. And that's mostly what everybody plays competitive with online now. But I got really into it Gen 4 because that's when you could play Wi-Fi, and that's when I entered like a bunch of tournaments and played it a shit ton. And it's my favorite generation in terms of competitive by far.
Yeah, you pretty much taught me everything there is about competitive Pokemon. I didn't even really know about Smogon before I met you. And seeing that there was like a whole community, like a Reddit thread, basically, you know, like a message board that just had all of this competitive information and teams and anchors and just how you
the truth, man.
Like having a core on your 6. And it was really cool just to know that, like, holy shit, there's this entire community of competitiveness that exists out there that I could be a part of. And at the time, obviously, I was already mainly
into Yu-Gi-Oh. Yep.
Yeah. But you remember, I wanted to jump in so bad. Like you would show me stuff, and
I remember one night in particular, you in my basement, sitting right next to me, next to my computer, and you were there the whole night watching me go through forums, battle people. I was playing people online.
Literally playing.
You were watching me play people, and you were asking me a bunch of questions. We were reading battle logs. Like people would upload.
Yeah, I like that.
People would upload like their whole battle they had with somebody,
and then what
like
they were
script
thinking
of it
at the time,
and what they were thinking. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that shit was so cool because essentially it's like watching a duel. Where you get to hear commentary from the people who were in the duel. Like at this time, I thought that he had this, and I thought he was switching to this, and I didn't know.
Sick.
I'm trying to bait out, like, because I know at the time you didn't know exactly what 6 the other person had, right? So like,
yeah, in Gen 4 there was no what we call team preview, and Gen 4 is my favorite generation because it had in Generation 4 when you played competitive, when the match would start, it would just show 6 Pokeballs, and you don't know what's on the other team. So there was a concept of having a lead. So you would design your team. This is the Pokemon you send out first. Every single time you send this Pokemon out first. And this Pokemon has a role to set up your team's plan, to set up your team's goal.
Right.
Now, you would have backup. Obviously, you need backup plans and et cetera. But this guy has a role that he's going to do almost better.
Like Tyranitar doing Sandstorm at the beginning of the battle.
Yes, because when Tyranitar hits the field, he would automatically make Sandstorm happen. He didn't have to use a move. It was his ability.
So that would be like people starting Pokemon, right? Like they would start the battle off with that?
Yes, but not always. Like Tyranitar could do that, but sometimes you would like Tyranitar in Gen 4 was just an absurdly good Pokemon, regardless of Sandstream. Okay. Sandstream was an extra bit, but there were Sandstorm teams. Gen 5 is when we get into what's called the Weather Wars. Gen 5, every competitively viable team was a weather team.
And that's like the Swift Swim Drizzle getting like ridiculous.
That's when Swift Swim Drizzle Claws happened, and they got rid of that. And Drizzle was still one of the best teams in the game. But Gen 4, there was team preview. So like, for example, Azelf was a really common lead where he would have a Focus Sash on and Stealth Rock. And basically he would come out, he'd be almost guaranteed to get Stealth Rock out because he's really fast. And Focus Sash makes it so he lives one hit. But he would also have Taunt so that because he's fast, he could stop other Pokemon from using Stealth Rocks, etc. So you could taunt them to stop them from getting any setup. You can use your Stealth Rock. And then he would have Explosion. So that even when you did hit him and he's at 1 HP, he would use Explosion, which was a 250 base power move.
Oh my gosh.
And it halved the Pokemon's defense. So your defense got cut in half, and it was a 250 base power move. So you would literally send out Azelf, set up Stealth Rock, and then like explode. And then you didn't care that yourself was dead because like
it did so much. Yeah, and Stealth Rock just stays out there the entire time, right? Like that's just
unless you use Rapid Spin.
Yeah.
But Rapid Spin, especially in Gen 4, was kind of hard to fit onto a team. And even if you did, the amount of Pokemon that could use it were limited. So you could kind of predict it, and then you would have like Gengar or some other ghost type. to come in, and because Rapid Spin's a normal move, if you send out a ghost type, it wouldn't work.
Oh, so it wouldn't even wipe away the stealth rocks or the spikes and all that stuff. It would just whiff.
Not if a ghost type was out. No.
Oh, so there's so many, and that's what I thought was so cool. That's why I really started to get into it, because there's like layers. There's
a lot of layers. It's not just rock, paper, scissors, water, fire, grass. There's a lot more.
There was a fucking Inception in Pokemon competitive play. Like literally, it's like, okay, I think he's going to do this next, but if he thinks that I think that he thinks that, then he's going to do this instead. And like,
yeah, there was a lot of reads calling people out. There's a lot of crazy concepts. Like there's a pretty high level thing that like a lot of people don't really do, especially back then. I think it's more common now, maybe, but I don't follow the competitive scene as closely now. But double switching. When I first started double switching, it was basically, I'm just going to use really simple examples, but, let's say I had a fire type out and they had a water type out, right? I would switch to my grass type, okay? And then
they would see that.
They would see I switched to my grass type, and so their next turn, they're like, oh, I don't want my water type to die. I'm going to switch to my fire type to get rid of the grass type. So you would literally... I would switch to my Venusaur, let's say. Like they have Blastoise out, I have Charizard. I switch to Venusaur. So then they switch to Charizard. And instead of on this turn now trying to use Solar Beam or Razor Leaf or whatever, I switch right in the Blastoise because I know they're going to bring out their Charizard to counter this Venusaur.
Right.
So now now what happens is like I've now put them in a situation where it's like I switched and then switched again, because I knew they were going to switch.
Yeah.
And it just really creates this really rough checkmate situation where people, they're on the back foot. They're like, do I switch again? Is he going to switch again?
Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? Because you guys can both just keep going back and forth switching, I guess, right?
Yeah. And then in Gen 4, another cool thing was because you didn't know all the Pokemon on your team, you could make predictions. Like if I saw your Pokemon and there was a whole thing about keeping your Pokemon hidden. Like I'm going to keep my trump card hidden. Make it so they don't even know I have this.
Because you're gonna have something that comes out in sweeps at the end.
Exactly. And so a cool thing would be looking at like, okay, they've used these 4 Pokemon. Looking at the composition of those 4 Pokemon, what those 4 Pokemon do, like you then figure out, you go, what's his 5th and 6th Pokemon?
Yeah.
And you would have to, without ever seeing it, guess like he's got a Starmie still waiting in the wings, or he's got Tyranitar, or he's got Cresselia.
Remember Scizor?
Scizor was
Bullet
the best,
Punch.
Like,
oh
he
my
was insane
God,
at that time. Like
Bullet Punch was so, because it had like the stab thing going on with it, and then
when they give Scizor Bullet Punch, he was the most used Pokemon for a long time.
Yep, I remember just thinking like, holy shit, here comes Scizor to like clean up. Like that Pokemon was crazy.
I remember at Red Caps, I was playing this one guy, and the whole time he didn't know who I was at the time, and the whole time he's like talking shit, and he's like calling me a scrub and all this other stuff. And then I had a Pokemon out. And so at this time, I didn't see his Scizor yet.
Yeah.
Because of how good Scizor was, I knew that Scizor was on his team.
Yeah.
So I sent out a Pokemon to bait Scizor in. And then basically like a double switch, I switched to Magnezone on the turn without even seeing. I knew he was going to bring Scizor in. He switches in Scizor. I switch in Magnezone. And Magnezone has an ability called Magnet Pull, which means Steel-type Pokemon can't switch out.
Oh, no.
And so he brings in his Scizor. I bring in Magnezone before even seeing proof Scizor was there. And I just did Hidden Power Fire and killed his Scizor. And he was so fucking mad. Like, so fucking angry. Because I was just like, I knew Scizor was coming and shit like that. It was so fun.
Yeah, that makes you feel good, though. Like, you fucking outplayed him. Like, literally... you called them out. You were like, I know what you're going to do here. And
starting in Gen 5 and forward, there was team preview, and you could see the whole team.
Yeah, so that took that whole element out of the game. Like, that's not a part of the game anymore. Like,
I still don't like that. There's some people that do. There's pros and cons to it. I don't like it because there was a whole aspect of the game that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the lead meta. I really enjoyed figuring out what would be on your team by just using process of elimination.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoyed a lot of those aspects.
I'm going to relate that to some Yu-Gi-Oh too, because in ARGs and Top Cut and in other competitive games too, in ARGs though in Top Cut they would give you the opponent's deck list. Now I'm just remembering this now, but like you would get like if I'm playing Billy Break, I know Billy's 40 cards, or I should say his 70 cards, his extra deck and side deck too. Like I know all of the cards that Billy has that written down. I literally
everything at his disposal. You know,
I literally get a copy of his deck list before the match. He gets a copy of my deck list. So if I did not know that Billy is playing one random torrential tribute in his deck, like I know now, and I know that if he sets a back row, you know, I can assume like at worst case scenario, it's that torrential tribute that he has, and he doesn't have any of a trap, so he's either bluffing it or that actually is that torrential. So that does take an element out of the game, but then they thought that it would like, and I can see it from both sides.
Yeah, it has pros and cons. It has pros and cons.
They figure like, okay, if everyone knows everyone's deck list, then we're all on the same level. Because what could also happen on the contrary, right? Let's say my friend played Billy already, and they're like, yo, Frazier, Billy has a torrential tribute in his deck, and you should look out for it because that's how he won against me. Like, and Billy doesn't know what I'm playing now because he doesn't have friends. So, you know, no one told him like Frazier's playing, you know, Ring of Destruction or something.
This is an example, by the way. He's not saying Frazier's not saying Billy has no friends.
Oh, yeah. No. I would never say that. No, but you guys,
no, yeah, I'm fucking around.
Yeah. But like, yeah, so I can understand like it gives it changes the way the competitive environment works. Like it doesn't make it better or worse, like guaranteed. Like I don't really like argue for or against it. It's more so just like it just changes how you think about everything. Like now I know your deck list, that there's no secrecy, but I can now know to play around certain things. But it also gives you the ability to bluff certain things that I know you might have.
Yeah, it definitely changes the landscape of it. I see the pros and cons. Like for example, in Yu-Gi-Oh, like I see the benefit of that, right? Yeah. But and Pokemon, I also just like the idea of translates. I like the idea of just
figuring it out.
If I have four Pokemon, if I have four monsters in attack mode, and he has 2 set cards, I like the idea of me going like it might be Mirror Force.
Yeah, but if you know that that's just not on his deck list, you never turn anything
exactly.
To like you never will turn a monster.
I think that's like kind of whack.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, yeah, I think there's benefit to it, but I like the idea of like he might have and like he doesn't even have Mirror Force in his side deck, main deck. But and he sets 2, like he can bluff Mirror Force without it even being in his deck. And I like that.
In that way, yeah, and that way is really cool, right? Because like I said, you get the ability to pretend that something is there that isn't there. But I guess you could do that both ways. But yeah, we could probably talk about this for like
you can talk about it forever.
It could go.
But imagine how good it must feel, right? Where you set an MST. Like you see, he has 4 monsters.
Yeah.
And you go set him. You go set. And
he puts 2 monsters in defense
mode. And then he switches to defense mode, and you're like, I don't even play Mirror Force.
Yeah, I don't even play it.
I set this MST.
Yeah,
like that shit's baller.
That option is taken away from you if they know your deck list. Like
yeah.
Oh yeah. So if you know that he like has Scizor, like your Magneton move or whatever it was is not as ridiculous.
It's not as cool. It's not as cool. And like, he now looks out for it because now he knows I have Magnus.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Yeah, like he would see that and be like, oh, this guy's not about to get me with that shit. Like I'm gonna wait until he throws that out to kill it, and then my Scizor will come out. So yeah, it actually changes the entire dynamic. Like he's gonna try to get you to throw that Pokemon out first.
Yep. And so that it changes a lot because so in Gen 4 you would do like you would try to hold your main trump card back as long as you can because you're like, I want to bring him in when it's time for him to sweep.
I really love this. I love
play this. Yeah, you would play around like you would do everything you can, but without compromising. It was really fun. Gen 5 and Gen 6 were still really good. After Gen 6, I really fell out of love with competitive Pokemon. Gen 6 was the last generation I really liked. That was X and Y with Mega Evolutions. I enjoyed X and Y a lot. Starting with Sun and Moon and forward, I found competitive Pokemon that just not really be for me. I really don't like a lot of the changes that they made. Both Game Freak, the game creators made. I don't like a lot of the changes they made. I also don't like a lot of some of the decisions Smogon has made over the years.
Let's talk about some of the things that have happened to actual Pokemon, like Game Freak. Like, so we got Z moves, Mega Evolutions, Dynamax. Which one of those is like did you like Dynamax? How do you feel about
Dynamax? Is one of the worst things they've ever introduced for competitive, in my opinion. So to explain why, I'm gonna have to start with Mega.
Okay.
Mega, they introduced Megas, and I think Megas are really cool. I only have one gripe with Megas, and that's that if you know Pokemon, you know that the most evolutions a Pokemon have are 3 stages, like the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, right? Whatever. But then you have some Pokemon that there's only one form, where Pinsir is just one form.
Yeah.
You have some Pokemon that are 2 forms, Growlithe, Arcanine. Okay. The thing I hate about Mega Evolutions is they gave some Mega Evolutions to 2-form Pokemon like Houndour and Houndoom, in my opinion, instead of Houndoom getting a Mega Evolution, they should have just evolved Houndoom into what is Mega Houndoom. They should have just made that as evolution instead of it being a Mega Evolution. I think Mega Evolution should have only been for 3-stage Pokemon,
right? You want them
single-stage
fully
Pokemon.
Build it out.
Yeah. But
okay, I see what you mean.
That has nothing to really do competitive. That's just like
right. That's just like something that you feel, yeah.
Mega Evolution was really cool. I actually think it was really cool and competitive.
I like Mega Evolution, especially those fucking Charizards. The Charizard from X, I think whichever one was black.
Charizard X.
That shit looks so cool. The blue fire, the black skin.
He was tough as fuck.
Oh my god! And then he also, well, that one wasn't a dragon though, right? The
Charizard X was Fire Dragon.
Oh, it was okay. It was Fire.
Charizard Dragon. Y was Fire Flying with Drought. And Charizard X was Fire Dragon with Tough Claws.
Oh man, it looks so cool seeing Charizard finally be considered the dragon too.
Yeah, that shit was sick. So my favorite Mega, my favorite kind of story with that is my favorite Mega was Mega Lucario, besides Mega Blaziken that got fucking insta-banned.
Yeah.
But Mega Lucario I loved mainly because I always liked Lucario, and Mega Lucario I thought was so good when it came out. And I remember a large part of the community telling me Mega Lucario was bad because they were saying Life Orb Lucario out damages him. They were like, Life Orb Lucario does more damage, he's better. And I don't know why this was so hard for a lot of people to understand. Mega Lucario was faster and had more bulk and didn't take recoil damage from Life Orb. But for a long time, people thought Life Orb Lucario was better than Mega Lucario. And then I remember Mega Lucario getting banned and me being like, I thought he wasn't good.
Right.
Everybody told me he wasn't good. Now he's banned? What the fuck? I remember playing in a tournament one time and somebody called my team a gimmick because I was playing Mega Lucario. Because they
only allow one Mega on a team.
Well, right? You're only allowed one Mega, right? Yeah. And I had Gengar on my team. One of my thought processes was Gengar Gengar is a better Pokemon than Lucario.
Yes.
Mega Gengar is broken. He got banned before Mega Lucario.
Yes.
But I was like, as individual Pokemon, Gengar is better than Lucario. So I would rather use Mega Lucario because Gengar is already good. Whereas Lucario at this time, I don't think was that good, honestly. But Mega Lucario was really good. Anyway, the point is, the guy assumed I was playing Mega Gengar because Gengar was on my team.
Yeah, he saw it and was like, oh shit.
And so when I killed him with Mega Lucario, like he basically said my team was a gimmick. And I was like, okay, anyway, like move on next part of the tournament. Like, I just beat him. He was mad. I moved on.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of key situations. I can't remember the exact play out, but Latios, who's like really broken. Somebody like used Psychic on my Lucario, my Mega Lucario. Lucario survives the hit. I hit back. And then I was able to kill Latios next turn with Extreme Speed. Normal Lucario would have never did that because he would have either just died from the Psychic or he would have died from Life Orb Recoil. Because like he would have hit him, Psychic would have did a ton of damage, and then Life Orb Recoil, he would have died. But because Mega Lucario has so much more bulk and the Life Orb doesn't have Recoil, he was able to just use Extreme Speed next turn, and then I swept their team. Like I won the game because I was using Mega Lucario.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people for a brief period of time that just because Life Orb did more damage, they were like, he's better. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Yeah, like you were a little ahead of the curve on that one.
Anyway, that was a tangent. Megas were really cool. You can only have one. They were really cool. They changed the way that Pokemon worked. Then there was Z moves in Sun and Moon. Z moves were like, thing about Megas is only certain Pokemon could be Mega. So if somebody had a Pikachu, you'd be like, okay, like you would never be like, he's going to turn into Mega Pikachu. So there was a meta in knowing which Pokemon could even become a Mega.
Yeah. So that's why the Gengar on your team was like a scary thing because the guy's like, oh God.
That's going to be Mega Gengar. Yeah. Or Mega Kangaskhan or whatever.
Yeah.
With Z moves, you just gave a Pokemon the crystal. Any Pokemon on your team could just use a Z move at any time. So that
shit could come from anywhere.
So it could come from any Pokemon, yeah. I didn't really like Z moves. They were just like, it was just like one super big broken move that would usually just like cause a huge swing and like, you know, whatever. I didn't really like it. They weren't horrible, but they weren't as fun to me.
Did they just guarantee kill a Pokemon basically? Like, is that
pretty much? They would be like 200 base power. Like they'd be just insanely strong. They would have some crazy extra effect a lot of times. Like they were just usually like, okay, boom, like you're dead. And
yeah.
You can only use it once, if I remember correctly, but it was just really fucking broken. You can only use it one time.
Yep. So then we go past Z moves to Dynamax.
Now here's the problem with Dynamax. Dynamax is Mega Evolution and Z moves as the same mechanic plus. So Dynamax, any one of your Pokemon can use it. In addition to that, they don't need a hold item. For Mega Evolution, you need a Mega Stone, right? So that means that whatever your hold item is, you can't have leftovers or life or whatever. You need Mega Stone. For Z moves, you need a Z Crystal. That's part of what balanced it. Like this Pokemon can't have
so
leftovers.
Pokemon that Mega Evolved and Pokemon that did the Z moves, they had to hold something, so they couldn't be holding anything else.
Exactly.
Right.
For Dynamax, you don't have to decide ahead of time which Pokemon is the Dynamax Pokemon. And for Z Crystals, as much as I didn't like Z moves, I had to decide ahead of time that this Pikachu was the Z move.
Yeah.
And none of my other Pokemon had that Z move. For Dynamax, it's just none of your Pokemon have to hold a special item. So at any point in time, any one of your Pokemon could Dynamax at any point, and there's no pre-thought that goes into it. It's like any one of these can just Dynamax whenever I see fit. And then when that happens, they get all of their moves, their whole move set becomes Z moves. All of their moves become like grand versions of their moves that have crazy side effects. They get gigantic, their HP doubles. They just become completely unfair. And they keep it for 3 turns. So with Z moves, you got a Z move and you can only use it once. For Dynamax, you get your whole thing becomes Z moves for 3 fucking turns, and you have double HP. And it could be any Pokemon. It was so whack.
So whack. What happens in a Dynamax? So like, do people, you Dynamax, so now let me Dynamax my guy too, so that way we're kind of like.
Sometimes in Smogon, it's just banned.
Okay, good.
They just banned it in Smog.
So in competitive, it is not allowed. Or at least Smog and competitive.
In Smog and competitive. In VGC, which is the official Pokemon Company competitive rule set, it's still allowed. VGC's official rule set it's always doubles. So it's 2v2s. As in you send out 2 Pokemon at a time, not 2 people.
Yeah.
It's 2v2s and Dynamax is still allowed. But in Smogon, which is the format that I've always played, it's been banned. So I can't even really tell you what the meta would be because they got rid of it.
Yeah, that's good.
And they never banned Z moves and they never banned Megas. So I feel like that kind of goes to say how ridiculous Dynamax is.
Yeah, they felt like it wasn't a good competitive environment with that shit around. And I can understand that because, like you said, I mean, for all the reasons you mentioned, it can come from anything. You don't really give up anything to use it. Like
you give up nothing. You give up nothing to use it.
So it's just
random. It feels really random.
Okay, so like you're just like, oh, this Pokemon's out here, and all of a sudden, this Pokemon is now fucking 3 stories high, and it's about to start wrecking shit.
And all of the moves do crazy shit, like the wind moves, the flying moves. Like it's a gigantic, strong flying attack, but then it also raises your speed. Like so, you get to do fucking 300 damage, and your Pokemon's speed increases. It's like okay.
So I'm about to sweep whatever you got going on over there for 3 turns. Like
fighting moves would raise your attack. Like every move did something else as well. It's like they were really strong and did crazy shit. Also, you couldn't use Protect on them, if I remember. Like if I used Protect, that move would just like hit through it. I think it would do like half damage, but I'm pretty sure it would just hit through it.
That's wild too.
So they were just ridiculous, man. Dynamax was trash.
Did they hit through substitutes and all that too, or is that like a thing? Because I know substitute was a big part of the meta back in the day.
I don't remember if they hit through substitutes.
Okay, but whatever. Like point is they are, and because that's still the current.
Yeah, because that's the current meta.
They are insane. All right, well, I mean that great discussion on competitive Pokemon. Like I know you can talk on that shit.
We can talk forever. I would love to talk about it again soon. Some point in the future,
we definitely.
I love talking about Pokemon.
All of these podcasts are not one and done. The topics, like we're going to come back to Pokemon, everything. Like every single one of these is going to be revisited at some point. But let's jump over to our listener letters.
Yep.
So we had some letters from last week and also some new ones that we want to read. So if you guys have anything that you want us to read out loud on the show, or you have comments or something that you want us to discuss, please send them to imnerdpodcast@gmail.com, and we may read them aloud on the show. So this listener letter comes from Austin, and he says, so I've been watching the progression series by Simo on YouTube and definitely brought back a lot of memories. What would be some of the favorite formats that you guys have played? Personally, any format Glad Beasts are viable in, just because it's my favorite deck and I've played it since 08. Definitely favorite format was Quick Draw, Synchro format with Drill Warrior. It felt like a really balanced format in my opinion.
I remember Drill Warrior.
So I guess his question is, what would be some of the favorite formats that we played in?
Yeah.
I'll go first. So I really enjoyed which is when I consider myself to like first start to become good at the game. I would say it's 2008, and it's like the teledeck era. I had the full deck. I got the crush card, 3 teleports, malicious, D draws. I got everything, and I had just come off of topping a bunch of regionals with the deck. I had come off of topping the format before that. I was using Diamond Dew Turbo. I believe in the Dat Return format because I didn't have Dark Arms like that. I was using Diamond Dew Turbo, and I topped a regional with Diamond Dew Turbo as well. I think I might even go undefeated. Like I think I went 10-0, but I topped a regional with Diamond Dew Turbo, and that deck made me feel like I was starting to get a lot better at the game too. But when Teledad came out, Teledad really made me feel like I was getting better at the game because of the mirror matches where like Diamond Dew Turbo just killed you. Like it was an OTK deck. Teledad was more so like, yes, it can OTK you, but for the most part, it was a slower, like back and forth. I wing blast your card on the end phase. I summon Stardust. I attack your guy. Like, and I used to win a lot of those mirror matches, especially at like my locals. And it made me feel really like I'm understanding how to beat people. I'm recognized as one of the better players in the Philadelphia area. Um, yeah. So at this time, like we don't really have a Philadelphia YCS champion yet. Like, I don't think Silverman has won a YCS yet. I don't even think he might have topped a YCS at this point, but I don't think anyone from Philly has like won the big deal yet. And so we're all like vying to get better. But I wasn't really traveling at the time because that just wasn't a thing for me. I was really young, and so I still hadn't been traveling to YCS. So I went the entire format essentially with the Teledad deck, but not getting to really play in a YCS with it to like test how good I had become. So I mean, to this day, I'll never know if I was actually good or not in that format, but or like truly good. Like I knew I was good, but I don't know if I was good enough to stack up to like the YCS competition because it is different. And so Teledad's one of my favorites, especially like that's like the Dawn of Synchros, basically. Like Stardust just comes out, Go Yo Guardian, like all of that, Black Rose, like that whole thing. I love that entire period of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just real quick, the other one would be 2011 plants. I would say
Yeah.
because at this point now, so I'm like I've won a YCS and I am topping events. I've topped a bunch of events now in 2011. I think I topped like 5 YCSs, and I felt really accomplished because I topped YCSs with different decks. Like I would make it a point to switch my deck after I would top with YCS. So I would top with Dragoonities, I would top with Agents, I would top with X Sabers, and I would change my deck every time basically. And then we got to the end of that year. This is before Billy Break won, and it's now Toronto 2011. So this is his first event winning, and I'm playing Plants, and like I do really well at the Toronto YCS. I actually played Billy last round of Swiss. He beats me, and then we both top the YCS. He ends up winning. I get knocked out. I just remember like being so hungry, like, okay, I really want to like play more Plants because Plants, the mirror matches felt good. Playing against other decks felt good. There was so much like, do you summon Thunder King? Do you summon Tour Guide? Do you summon like saying like you had so many options of like what to do in certain places, and it wasn't really an OTK format, so it was very grindy, very slow, which I prefer.
I like
And
those formats too. I like when you get to play Yu-Gi-Oh!
same, like just same. Like I like where it's not turn one setup board, and if you don't deal with the board, you actually lose the game right then and there. There's no question about it. Like I'm not a fan, which is why I don't really play right now. But like back then it was very slow, very grindy. You could draw a bad hand, like an unplayable hand, and actually play out of it because you got that much time. Like somebody with someone Reborn Tango and attacking for 1700, like okay, I'm not anywhere near dying. And even next turn when they go summon Thunder King on top of that, I'm still nowhere near dying from the next attack. Like it just made you feel um like you had time to like, okay, I can draw out of a situation or I could play around certain things, and it's not all like this heavy emphasis on one turn. You better use it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you know,
I'm similar. I'm my I would say, as I said before, the deck I almost always played as Monarchs. Um, Year after year, like I would always just kind of update my Monarch deck. I just really, really, really liked Monarchs, so I played them in like every format. Like I did well with them. I didn't go to that many YCSs. Like I never topped the YCS, but I did pretty good at regionals. I topped a few regionals, and I remember just playing at locals and stuff with my Monarch deck and updating it. I liked the fact that the deck wasn't an archetype. Like I liked that it didn't feel like the deck made itself. Like Light Swords are really fun, Black Wings, all those decks are really fun, but I enjoyed just because I remembered, quote unquote old school Yu-Gi-Oh, where you kind of just like put cards together that ended up working together and comboed together, and it felt cool. That's what I liked about Monarchs for so long. And I remember in the plant format using Monarchs and having a lot of fun. And even though I wasn't playing the plant deck, I remember having a lot of fun. My deck felt competitive, even though I wasn't playing the main deck. It felt like because that format wasn't just like set up win, because that format was you playing like Yu-Gi-Oh, it felt like I was still able to play the game and not just completely outmatched. Then before that, I don't know. I'm dirty. I like chaos format, man. Like, I grew up like I remember playing in chaos format, and like I remember summoning fucking Blackluster Soldier and all that shit. And I remember Yada locking people. Yada was legal for I feel like a very short time, but I remember Yada locking people, and like I'm dirty. I like after chaos, the deck I just played the most was usually Monarchs. Like I played some form of Monarchs, and I would just tweak it as all the years went by. And like when Synchros came out, it was really fun doing like Treeborn Frog and Level Leader. Like have Level Leader eat a level off of Mobius or whoever, have Level Leader come out and then use that for synchro fodder. Like that shit was a lot of fun. So my favorite format would definitely be like somewhere around 2011. I don't remember the names of all the formats, but I remember that plant format being in 2011 and playing Monarchs then. I remember liking that format a lot. And then before that, like Chaos and shit, playing Warriors.
I like most Yu-Gi-Oh formats except the most toxic ones. Like I'm not going to vouch for Frog FTK, even though I did play a lot of Frog FTK.
You did. I remember that.
And I made a lot of people angry at my local, especially like the really older guys who just got crazily mad at me because I would destroy them. And then game 2, when they would go to side deck, I would just say, you win game 2. And then I'm going first again game 3, and I would do it again, and they'd be like, you motherfucker.
I remember that. I remember you playing, I don't remember the guy's name. And if you, I'm sure you'll remember. Oh, I remember him. That's not who I was going to talk about.
Okay.
I remember him. He used to get on my fucking nerves. He would do the same shit to me. I remember because I knew him when I was really little.
Yeah.
And he used to beat me because he was like an adult. But when I became like a teenager and played him, I started beating him a lot. Mm-hmm. And then he used to get so, because he remembered me.
Yeah.
And remembered like me being
people have that ego. They don't like, I even said it in episode 1 or 2, like where I don't like losing to someone that never beat me. Like I kind of just have like this thing where like, you never beat me before, so I'm going to make you work for it. And I don't want you to win.
But I was going to say during Frogs, I can't remember the guy's name, but you played somebody that said like Frogs weren't that hard, something like that. And basically somebody was telling you that they would beat you with Frogs, and you like mirror matched them with Frogs and just like murdered them each. But I don't remember the exact situation. You might remember the story better than me. But somebody saying Frogs weren't that hard or weren't that good or something like that.
Yeah, people would try to say stuff like, people would try to say like Frog FTK wasn't difficult to play, and then you watched them like misplace certain things. I'm like,
there was a lot of misplays you could make in that deck.
Game like that was like you literally had to start your turn off. You play this card, discard Treeborn Frog, discard that, stand by phase, bring it back, summon substitute, tribute, but you didn't see that.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I would agree. Any format of Yu-Gi-Oh where it feels like you get to play Yu-Gi-Oh, like there's more than 3 turns, I would have fun in. The formats that I don't like is when, it's just set up win. Like, I don't know. Like, I remember, what was it? Wind-ups?
Yes, Wind-ups is atrocious.
Wind-ups was like set up win.
Yeah, like, well, set up win, or my turn takes your entire hand away, so you can't even play anyway. Yep. Like, Wind-ups was one of the first decks that consistently, turn 1, like, you don't have a hand. Like, I'm taking away all of your cards, and then the game becomes very, like...
Remember those 2 dinosaurs? The 2 dinosaur to exceed summons?
Yeah.
One was like fucking solemn, and
Logia and Dalka. So evil Zars.
The evil Zars, dog.
They were too much. Like,
if I remember, the deck wasn't that good, but those 2 Exceed monsters were the shit.
Yeah, well, the deck was the best deck because of those Exceed monsters. Like the deck, when you looked at the deck on paper, you see like 6 normal monsters, some tour guides, and then like a bunch of spells and traps. So it looks like, okay, what is this? But then if you open Rescue Rabbit, it was too much. Like we didn't have kaijus back then, so there wasn't really like an easy way to out those evils Exceed summons. They were just so oppressive, and a lot of the good Yu-Gi-Oh players at the time would complain about how it feels kind of skillless and that whole thing. That format very, very chaotic. I'll just call it chaotic.
Like 10 years ago, Sean McCabe promised me he would top a regional with Crystal Beast. He still hasn't done it.
Yeah, I I think that Crystal Beasts have actually gotten support in the last.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they've gotten support. I feel like in the last 2 years. I'm gonna just throw out a number like that. But I don't think it's even close to making them competitive. Like I don't think that
it was a joke I always had. I used to always say like, "Oh, you think you're good? Why don't you try topping with Crystal Beast?"
I feel like one day, right? Because over time things just keep getting support. Maybe one day it'll get so out of hand that like Crystal Beast will be a deck.
Maybe,
but it will not. It will not resemble anything of what we know of Crystal Beast right now. Like it will not. You know what I mean? Like Ancient City, Rainbow Ruins. Like it will not. It will be so far removed from what we used to know as Crystal Beast.
It was a really fun format. You might actually know which format it was, but when the starter deck, the Machina starter deck came out, that format was fun.
So that's quick draw format. That's that
format was fun.
That's when Jeff won the whatever YCS 100th, 75th, something like that. That's quick draw. I actually played Machina Gadgets. I got 34th at that event. Where it was like Doom Kyle Cat was played by Billy Break, I'm pretty sure. Jeff won with quick draw synchron. People were playing Machina Gadgets. There was also, I'm pretty sure, a Light Swarm was being played. Jarrell Winston was playing the pet deck. And there was Monarchs. Like Monarchs were also in that format. So there was a lot. There was a lot of shit going on. Like that was the first. I want to say that was the first event of that format. That Edison, New Jersey, YCS. And so back then, at the beginning of any format released, even still to this day, I assume, people didn't know what to play. So you just ran into every round, you ran into some shit. Like it was just like you didn't know what you were going to play against. And I played Machina Gadget with that new, like you said, that new starter deck. And it was
like Machina Gear Frame.
Gear Frame changed the game. Like that guy was actually really
1800
Stratos for like this big ass monster that you could just summon by discarding himself. Just like what the fuck. And then when he died, he like killed the card in the field. Like he was nuts.
He was.
And if you targeted him, I think he like looked in their hand and did something. He was
nutty. He
was like kind of like he's kind of out of control. So
that deck was fun as hell.
I played that deck. I like that deck a lot.
That's what, dude. I want more. It's probably too hard to set up, but you know how GOAT formats are a really popular thing people do? Yes. I would love if people did that for some other format.
Yeah, it's annoying that GOATs are like the only format. Well, I won't say that, but like they're the main format that everyone talks about when they talk about old formats. Like fucking GOATs is boring. Like get out of here. Like let's play, I don't know. Let's play that format that we were just talking about. Like the Edison,
I would love to just like fuck around with that format.
Like let's play. That's 2010. So let's play the 2010 like Edison, New Jersey format where like there are like 8 decks to play, and let's play like 2011 Plants again, or 2011 X Sabers when McCabe was topping everything with X Sabers and winning a bunch of prize cards.
X Sabers. Any format where top 8 is more than fucking 2 decks.
Yeah,
I like when you see variety. It's like I'm really in the fighting games, and if top 8 of a fighting game is all the same character, I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, like, I don't mind either way on that. Like, I guess just because I am so used to the environment that Yu-Gi-Oh has created over the last like so many decades, I'm just used to like when I first started becoming competitive at JMC Collectibles, when I first found out about metagame.com, when I would go on and look at the top 8s from Shonen Jump Championships, it was just chaos. Like it was just GOATs.
Yeah.
Like so I kind of grew up in that environment, and it was normalized to me. So I'd never like, whenever people would talk about variety, I would just be like, yeah, this is the best deck and I'm just playing it, and I don't care how anyone feels about it. But I do understand wanting variety in a format. There's nothing wrong with that. Although, I may even argue that sometimes too much variety can be obnoxious.
I agree. Like something I like, just, a bit of a side step, but like in Melee's got 25, 26 characters, but only 8 of them are really played.
Yeah. And really only like 4 of them are really played.
And and that shit, it's dope because, if you fucking use Link, like, all right, cool. Like use Link, like you're not really going to catch me by surprise. Like some little shit you might do, but Melee's really sick because there's like this cold part of the cast that's really sick, and their meta is really pushed, and it's
and they're very different. Like the characters at the top are very different. So there's nothing wrong with having a lot of decks. Not a lot, but like a couple decks that are like, okay, these decks are all competitive. They all can technically win the event. They can all do well, and they're just vying for like who is the dominant of all of them, like who's the most dominant. And so like I like triangle formats. Like I don't mind a good triangle where like it's like 3 decks, the Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander scenario. They kind of beat each other, and that's just how it is. And then maybe one of them is like for whatever reason, certain players will feel like this one is better because of this. Like, yes, it kind of loses to this one, but not really after citing. Like, you might find whatever reason you justify why you picked one of the pieces of the triangle.
Yep. So I like those kind of formats. But yeah, my biggest thing, even if it's all one deck, as long as you get to play Yu-Gi-Oh for more than 3 turns, I'd probably have fun in the format.
I agree with that all day. Like, I'm not a fan of I don't want to fly somewhere and then FTK or OTK all day, or get that, like, have that happen to me as like and then try to sit there and tell myself like this is a competitive game. Like, that is not fucking competitive. Like, that is just like, it's one thing if you created something that no one else knew about and you went and you started OTKing and FTKing people. I like that type of shit. Like, that's cool to me. I do not like it if we all know Pepe is like going to be a 1-turn deck. You set up your field, you set counter traps or whatever, Cyber Dragon Infinity with Replesia, and they can't play through it. Like, it's just not, there's no cards available that will allow them to really play through your setup if you get set up on turn 1. I don't like, and everyone knows it. Like, everyone coming to the event, everyone coming to the event is going to be playing this deck. It kills you on turn 1 consistently. We're all just hoping for the best at this point. We're all fucking rolling dice and just praying to God that like it lands on me to go first. Like, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Like, I'm.
But it's really cool when like one random not little kid, but one random person shows up to an event because he fucking sat in his basement and just looked at a card from 10 years ago. Yeah. And he figured something out, and then all of a sudden, like, everyone's like, "What the fuck deck is this guy playing?"
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
That shit's sick.
All right, so let's move on to our next one, which is also from Austin. So he said, when I was listening, I know you guys were talking about the Japanese translated Monster Hunter on PSP. If that's the same one we used, I believe it was the Japanese Freedom Unite. Between FU, Freedom Unite, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Melee, I failed so many classes playing these. I think I had over 3,000 hours.
Word.
Followed by more hours when we got the English one. I gotta ask, other than Ron Perlman's hair, what were your thoughts about the Monster Hunter movie? And have you guys read any of the manga?
Hell yeah, I'm happy you asked. We meant in the Monster Hunter episode, I remember wanting to talk about the movie, and then we ended it. We ended the podcast, ended recording, good shit. We're about to go our separate ways, and we were like, oh shit, we never even talked about the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you asked.
We talked all of that shit about Monster Hunter, like, good shit. And then we completely forgot about one of the most horrible blemishes on the Monster Hunter franchise at this point is the movie, which we actually did a whole bad movie night. Like, just for that movie. Like, we had a day where my friend had a housewarming and we decided for whatever fucking reason to just watch the Monster Hunter movie as a group.
It was our fault, you and me specifically. I remember now at this time, Monster Hunter Rise wasn't out yet. And as I said, I really got into Monster Hunter with Rise.
Yeah.
So I know they were all in the Monster Hunter. And so we're sitting there. I knew the movie came out and I started stoking some shit. I'm like, yo, we should watch the Monster Hunter movie for bad movie night. Oh, and our friend was like, no, we're not doing that. And then Fraser was like, no, we should do it.
Yeah.
And so
I support bad ideas all the time. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but.
And because we knew it was going to be bad, like, because I knew it was going to be bad. And I had this little bit of information I don't think anybody else had. I knew that it was directed by, I don't remember the name of the director, but the guy that made the Resident Evil movies, and that the main character was that guy's wife. Yes. She's only ever an actor when her husband's the director. Like, that's the only time she gets the fucking job because she's horrible. And so I knew she was the main actor, and I knew it was going to be garbage.
Yeah.
And so I was super excited to watch it. It was going to be trash.
I was happy because I knew it was going to be bad, and I just wanted to laugh. Like, I was like, this is going to be a shit show. And it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was awful. So the Monster Hunter movie, atrocious. They were using actual pistols and shit on Diablos, and not even once. So like, after you shoot Diablos with like a regular handgun and you realize, okay, that didn't do anything. Why an hour into the movie does someone else shoot Diablos with a handgun? Like, I don't understand stuff like that.
There's also a lot of really bad cuts. That movie couldn't stay still. I remember every fucking moment, like, if they're talking, the scene, like it was always cut into a different angle of the person's fucking face. Like, it became nauseating to even watch them talk to each other.
And then I don't understand what was going on. Why did they have so many spiders? Like, you would think if you only saw the Monster Hunter movie,
you would think spiders were fucking hot shit.
You would think spiders are like a really big part of the Monster Hunter world. Like, you would think that they're like some kind of, I don't know, main feature of Monster Hunter, like spiders. Like, and they're not at all. Like, there's very few spider monsters that you actually fight in Monster Hunter games, and they're not even in every game. Like, spiders are like, they're a thing sometimes. Like, there's one big spider in like some of the games, but like they're not that big of a deal. So I don't understand why for like literally, I don't know, 50% of the movie I just felt like was
it definitely felt like half.
Like
the whole military. I'm so done with movies with like American military goes and does this. Like,
yes,
I fucking hate that movie Avatar that came out with the blue people. I think James Cameron's overrated. I fucking think that movie's trash.
Drag him.
We can talk about it later. I hate the fact that every time I say, have you ever seen Avatar? And I'm talking about The Last Airbender, a good show. People go, do you mean the movie with the blue people?
Drag him.
Like, no, I have a brain. Anyway, I'm tired of like, American military goes and does random, like the American military goes into a portal. I don't need the American military for Monster Hunter. Like, why are they here? Like, get them the fuck out of here. And then the whole cast dies. T.I. dies. Megan Good dies.
Yeah, everyone gets pieced. It's kind of
weird. There was no reason for them to be in the movie. They just show up, get killed by spiders. And then fucking wife lady is the main character. And she meets She meets Native Man. And then like, she's the Great White Hope. And she comes in with her bullshit. And then she fucking learns how to use dual blades or some nonsense.
Barely. It's bad. And Rathalos is fucking destroying jets and shit.
Like Rathalos comes through the portal and attacks tanks and jets.
And he just starts ripping them apart. I was like, okay, what is happening here? Like, what are we doing?
Also, Diablos was just like waiting. I remember there's a part where Diablos is chasing them, right? And then like they go somewhere and they sleep somewhere for like a day.
Yes.
And then the next day, the moment they touch the sand, Diablos was in the they throw like
she
a rock
threw a
in the
rock,
sand,
and then Diablos popped up immediately.
Like immediately.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is that Diablos like literally right there? Like he was outside of her tent or whatever. Like the second this fucking oh god, I don't know. That movie was so bad, but it was funny. It was entertaining.
It was entertaining
in a bad way.
In a bit, yeah.
And
I had fun.
The other thing that I think about the Monster Hunter movie, there was a point where the guy was using a greatsword. I assume it was supposed to be a greatsword, and he was holding it with the weight of a kitchen knife, like a fucking, like there was no double hands on the greatsword. It was just kind of
swinging that shit.
He was just swinging, and the way he was holding with one hand. So if you play Monster Hunter, the greatsword is held with two hands. It's a very heavy,
and it's heavy as hell. Like it feels chunky and satisfying and heavy when you're wielding it.
It's huge. His greatsword was like in between a regular sword and shield and a greatsword. Like it had like this weird length to it. Like it just didn't look great. And he was holding it like it was a fucking butter knife. And I could not stop laughing at the fact that there was no weight to his prop. And you could tell that his prop was cheap. Like it was a cheap fucking prop.
Let me ask you this. You've played almost or every Monster Hunter.
Every Monster Hunter except Monster Hunter Tri, the one where you go underwater, I refuse.
Maybe it's hard to even remember. Were any of those weapons, do you think, like, did you go like, oh, that's supposed to be this sword?
Maybe. The great sword, maybe. Because there's like that iconic great sword from the first game, like the first Monster Hunter case. But I don't even, like, it was too small to be that. So even if it wanted to be that, it just didn't have the size. Like the greatsword is supposed to be humongous. I cannot stress that enough. And that greatsword just was not big. So like none of the weapons that I saw in the movie really made me think like, oh shit, that's that weapon. You know, and
you didn't see any weapon and you're like, oh,
that's kind of, that's kind of sad. I didn't notice it when we were watching it, but now that you say that, that's kind of like bad.
That's a disappointment
that there were no iconic weapons in the Monster
Hunter. The big thing about Monster Hunter is the armor and the weapons. And if you're watching a Monster Hunter movie and there's not any iconic armors or weapons, like they should have put something on for you to go, oh shit, that's fucking Diablos armor, or like even like something.
Yeah, the one Monster Hunter she met was just wearing like base armor. Like I won't even call it armor. He had on like the shit you start the game with. Like
he had just leather shit on.
He just had on some bullshit. And I was like, what's going on? Like, where is this guy's like Rathalos armor or Diablos armor? Or like, okay, if he's not going to have that because those are considered like apex monsters in the movie, give him something. Like he had nothing. Like he was out there fucking butt ass, basically.
Like he could have at least had some Lagambi shit on.
Yeah, he could have had some Lagambi. He could have had a Gia Prey or some Gem Prey shit on. Like he had nothing. And I just wasn't a fan of that at all.
Yeah, they definitely should have had. That's a big missed opportunity. But then again, I'm not surprised because the guy that made it, I knew. Like the Resident Evil movies, some people might look back on them, but they're not good movies. Like they're bad movies. The actress is bad, and she's bad in this movie too. So the movie's bad.
Well, there you have it.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I recommend only watching it to laugh and to not take it seriously whatsoever. It's really bad.
So if you go into it wanting to get a good Monster Hunter experience, you're going to be sad.
Yes. However, I almost forgot about this. There is a Netflix CG, like the whole series is completely CG version of Monster Hunter coming out on Netflix. So
I did hear about that. Also, a Pokemon Netflix is supposed to be being made too, right?
yes, there is a live action Pokemon Netflix series that is in the works apparently. So like that, both of these things could be huge. I'm here for Monster Hunter getting redemption.
I hope they're good.
I hope they're good too. I hope that Monster Hunter gets his redemption. And as for Pokemon Live series, don't know how I feel about that, if I'm being honest.
I tend to not have much hope in anything animated becoming live action.
Yeah,
they don't usually do it.
They just don't do it well. The CG usually is cringy, or like there's just something fundamentally wrong, or like creepy. There's just something.
It just hits an uncanny valley. Like it doesn't quite work a lot of times.
So I'm not sure but like Netflix produces good content. I'm just gonna hope for the best is all we can do. We will definitely be reviewing.
Well, they did make the Death Note movie that was not good content.
God. Don't remind me, because Death Note's my favorite anime, but that movie is literally unplayable. But yeah, live action Pokemon and completely CGI Monster Hunter, so it's kind of a chance to redeem. If people saw the Monster Hunter movie and that's like all they know about Monster Hunter, hopefully they give this a shot, because I'm sure it'll be better judging by the preview. If you haven't seen the preview, go on YouTube, look up Monster Hunter series, Netflix, and it actually looks very much like a real Monster Hunter thing. Like it doesn't look like the movie did. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right. Well, this wraps up today's episode of the IMNerd podcast, episode 5. If you want to send us anything, again, it's imnerdpodcast@gmail.com, and we may read it aloud on the show. And as usual, indeed. So long, Gay Bowser.
So long, Gay Bowser.
Also, so we say this at the end of every episode now, but for people who don't know what that is, Kenny.
Basically in Mario 64, when Mario swings Bowser and he throws him, it sounds like he says, "So long, Gay Bowser." Yes. He's actually not saying "so long, Gay Bowser." What he's actually saying is "so long, like how he says it's me, Mario." He's saying "so long, Bowser."
So long, Bowser. Like something like that.
Because of the G at the end of long and just like the A, it sounds like he says "so long, Gay Bowser." And for a million years, everybody thought he said "so long, Gay Bowser."
So that's where that comes from. For people who are probably wondering what the fuck is going on at the end of this podcast. Anyway, goodbye.
Peace.